afternoon again. My name is James Henry, and on camera today we've got Manu. That's his thumb with a ring on it. Show us your ring. Very nice. Made of?
Copper.
Copper.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're coming to you live from the Maasai Mara. Tristan is down in South Africa, and a special warm welcome to the schools conference that has joined us today. Its name, I'm afraid, has escaped me. There were two, now there is one, and it is the... It's coming, don't worry everybody, it'll come. Consolidated School Districts of New Britain. Good. Marvellous. It's wonderful to have you with us. We will hopefully find you lots of animals, and you can send us any questions you'd like using the hashtag Safari Live. Otherwise, I think you guys are probably joining us on Skype. You can do that. The rest of you, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Otherwise, the YouTube chat channel will work very well. We're hopefully also going to have Scott. He's following the cheetahs. They're in some very bad signal. 5 male cheetah at the moment, but he can't afford to leave them to go away from the cheetahs and find signal, because of course then we will lose the cheetah, and at the moment they are the most important part of this afternoon so far. Now, I've come up again. Many of you will feel that I've gone stark raving insane, because for the third afternoon in a row I find myself sitting on the edge of the Olololo escarpment looking for the sausage tree pride and not finding them. I'm hoping that is going to change during the course of the day. While I decide whether I should be flying over the cuckoo's nest or not, let us head down to South Africa, where Tristan is knocking about in what used to be winter.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Sunset Safari from sunny South Africa. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Senzo, and a special warm welcome to the Consolidated Schools of New Britain Teachers Conference. Hopefully you will enjoy your next 45 minutes with us, and remember to ask lots of questions, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Now, for the rest of our viewers, we will be taking the Teachers Conference for you questions first, but you can still send your questions through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat, and we'll get into those a little bit later. Right. Now, I know James is out looking for the sausage pride down in the Maasai Mara, and I'm out, well, I think to start, I'm going to start looking for some of our big grey great pachyderms, because it is quite warm this afternoon, so we're going to try and see if we can't find some ellies at the waterhole before we'll turn our attentions a little bit later to maybe trying to find some of the spotted cats. This morning there was tracks for a male leopard, a female leopard, and a leopard cub all together in an area actually close to where I am right now. So we're going to try to see if we can't find them a little bit later. It's probably a bit warm for them now, and they're spending quite a bit of time sleeping, I would imagine. I don't think they're going to be moving around too much. So we're going to try and see if we can't check some of the water holes to start off with, and then carry on from there and see, maybe, just maybe, if we get lucky. Now, I'm hoping that we will get some elephants. There have been a few big herds of elephants around in the past few days. There was a herd yesterday afternoon that was well over 50 of them that were walking around, so I'm going to try and see if I can't find any sign of them. They do leave quite a few footprints, so they're a nice herd to track. It's quite easy to follow those big round footprints, so hopefully we will find them. Now, I believe James has got another spotted kind of creature that is running across the Great Plains of East Africa.
Well, sort of, everyone. It was running down the mountain, and, well, there were 2 of them. In fact, I think we've seen 4 so far, and they took a little bit of a fright from us, but very unusual to see them there they are, hurtling about at this time of the day. They are hyenas, the spotted hyena, and we're just going to go up around the corner here, get in front of them. There are some herds of wildebeest up ahead, and I wonder if these hyenas don't know something that we don't. I'm fairly sure that they do know many things that I don't, but in this respect I'm hoping it has to do with lions. You still see them, Manu? There they are. They might be simply coming down to get something to drink. We stop here. There we have them. You got them there, Manu? Yep. Wonderful. Now, where are they going at such high speed on a hot day? I think it's probably sitting at around, must be around about 80 degrees today. So around about 26 centigrade. And already already the seasons have started to change down in South Africa. Here, of course, I don't think they've changed an enormous amount. Now, this is a very wet hyena. Wet? Dirty. No, wet. Been lying in the mud. We did see a couple of hyenas feeding on a carcass a little earlier, but I'm not sure that we're going to go back to that because it was in some deep, deep grass. Maybe these chaps are just heading down there. I just want to make sure that they aren't going towards some kind of, sort of fresh kill and therefore the sausage tree pride. No, this one's turned around and coming back now. Hello, Chris from the conference. You want to know what hyenas eat. Chris, it reminds me of a question that I was asked once by a trainee guide. And basically I said fruit, nuts and mice. That was the standard issue answer I used to give. I'm not sure why it reminded me of that. They don't eat fruit, they don't eat nuts, they will eat mice, but largely they will eat any meat at all, rotting or otherwise. They are having a very fun romp, these chaps. I think there's a lot of element of fun going on here, some play behaviour. Perhaps picking up a few things on the wind, but it's quite a hot day, so it's unusual for them to be knocking around like this. So, Chris, it's largely, they do scavenge a lot. They will hunt, absolutely, especially at this time of the year in the Mara. It's a very scary-looking hyena, probably a male. In fact, you'll probably find that these are both males, and that's a slightly older one there. They don't have the bulk of the females. And he's not a very bulky fellow. That was fun. Very cool. Okay, so that was the spotted hyena, and I was just going to say that there are some herds up here still eating the grass on the slopes of the mountain, and because, again, it's quite a hot day, we'll keep looking underneath all the trees to see if there aren't any tawny or white bellies lying prostrate in whatever shade there is available. And by that, of course, I mean cats. Alrighty, on we go. Now, Tristan was heading towards some water. He's not going to be swimming despite the heat, and he's going to tell you why he won't be swimming.
Well, James, I think if I had to look under all the trees here in the Sabi Sands, I would be quite dizzy trying to find things. As you can see, there are far more trees in our neck of the woods, so to speak, as there are in the Maasai Mara. It's a little bit of a denser system, and that's why we tend to see quite a few more leopards this side. We get quite lucky with our leopard sightings, and the dense thickets that we have here in this bushy terrain is absolutely perfect for them to camouflage incredibly well. So it's always good when you're driving through these areas to check the shady parts, but where we check is a little bit different to where James would be checking. So James would be checking under trees. A lot of the time with leopards, the best place to check is these big termite mounds. Now I'm going to show you a termite mound shortly. It's just here in front of me as a nice example of one. So here we go, just straight in front of the car at the moment. That big structure there is a termite mound. And those places are perfect structures for leopards to sit on in the afternoon, particularly a windy afternoon like we've got today. It's quite warm, and so there's a bit of a breeze that's blowing, and on top there it's going to be a lot cooler under that little shady tree than it would be lying down on the ground where it's going to be radiating heat, and it's going to be a lot more warm. So you'll find that cats do like to lie up there on these windier, hotter afternoons, or sometimes even up in the trees themselves. So that's what we're looking for when we're driving around and trying to spot some of our more spotty leopard friends. Now, James, you say you wouldn't swim at any of the dams or pans around Djuma if it was hot. Well, I think I would tend to agree with James. The funny thing about this area is that there out of nowhere, all of a sudden, a crocodile will appear in one of those small pans, and you've got to be very careful with crocodiles. Even though you don't see them, it's not to say they're not there. They can sit underwater and hold their breath for close to 2 hours. So sitting there, you might come along and think, oh, there's no crocodile, I'll just have a little swim, and then whack, there you go, the crocodile grabs you. So you've got to be a bit careful. And in saying that we wouldn't swim in the dams here, I would imagine that, James, it would be a very bad idea for you to try and swim across the Mara River, because if you've seen some of the crocodiles that lurk in the Mara River, they look as though they are Tyrannosaurus Rex aquatic cousins, because they're so large and they go after anything that tries to cross over in that section. Now, talking about the heat, the animals themselves will have no such problem. They will be quite happy to go down to the water, particularly the animals we're searching for. Like I say, the elephants are not really too fazed by crocodiles, so even if there was a crocodile in a pan, that's not going to stop them going for a nice big wallow and playing around in the water. So hopefully our idea to head towards water is going to be successful. Now, in the distance I can spot some of our antelope that we get here, so we'll get to them shortly. They're a little bit further ahead of where I am now, so I'm just going to bounce our way slowly along towards where they are. Eric the poet, you're wondering if it's ever snowed here in the bush. Eric, in my time here, no. And as far as I know, no, it hasn't snowed here. We are in the middle of our winter. So we are in August, which is often a cold month here. But it is 30 degrees or close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so it gives you an idea of what winter is like here in South Africa. It's not exactly the most strenuous and cold situation that we have, and so no snow that I know of. We have had frost once or twice, but never snow. It would be quite cool to have snow though. Imagine, I think our animals would be thoroughly confused if it did snow here. I'm sure lots of them would actually not do very well at all. One, because their coats would not be thick enough to keep them warm, and two, they probably find that they'd get all kinds of feet problems from frostbite and varying other things, given that they're not used to walking around in that and have no adaptations for it. They're all designed to stay cool and not to stay warm. So there you go, there's some of our antelope that are just running across. These are both male impalas and are the most common antelope that we get here in the Sabi Sand system, or in this northeastern corner of South Africa. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them spread out all over the place, and they form a huge part of the diet of many of our predators in this area. So as many of the predators go along, this is what they'll be looking for. So from lions, leopards, cheetah, hyenas, wild dogs, we'll even find some of our birds of prey and snakes will also go after them. So it's a tough life if you're an impala, and that's why they join together in these groups, just for safety in numbers. Now, I believe James has got a bird that is flying around, so before it flies away from him, let's quickly jump across to him.
There are some big birds flying. They are vultures flying, and that means, of course, that something has died around here. They've just come off the ground. I think they're finished picking the hapless carcass. Or I promised I would never use the word hapless again. The unfortunate carcass of a wildebeest has now been picked clean, and well, they're all flying up and around and down towards the next carcass. There they go. Still nice and warm today. So very easy for them to fly. Another one coming off the ground. It really is a vulture's paradise. There's a really nice shot there of two Ruppel's griffins. I think that's what they are, sitting on the termite mound there. No, are they? No, they're whitebacks. They have no honey-coloured beak. Oh, there's a bit of a scrap on the ground there, Manu. It is the most gorgeous afternoon. I can hear the doves calling in the background, which is not a common sound out here, because, of course, down on the plains and away from the escarpment, there aren't as many trees, which means the doves don't exist in the same numbers that they do where we are now. And I'm still staring longingly in all parts of shade here, but I cannot see the Sosara tree pride. All right, Scott apparently has decided that although he loves his cheetah, he would like to talk to you even more, and so he's moved into some signal to say good afternoon.
Hello everyone, and it is a great pleasure to have you on board. We're just trying to work out what's going on over there. We actually left the 5-male cheetah underneath a few bushes close to where those vehicles are now. I think they're heading towards that tree. So they're on the move, VM, which means that just to the left there's a coalition of 5 male cheetah called the Musketeers. You got them there. You'll probably be able to see little specks. We've left them with one of the researchers who's in that tiny little white car on the right-hand side of your screen. She said she was going to call us as soon as they get active. I guess she's just possibly waiting to see if they don't go to sleep under that tree. And if they do continue moving, we'll definitely rush off to them. But we're being absolutely spoilt rotten here, because that's not the only cheetah in this valley. Hello, I'm Scott. VM's on camera. There's another one somewhere just off down here. VM, can you remember where it is there? It's just to the left of there we go. So there's another male over here. Now this is a lone male. He would not like to bump into those 5. They would give him a run for his money. And he is a little bit more hungry than them. That's why we decided to camp out with him. Apparently try to catch a young topee while VM and I were getting some food resupply to spend another night out here. And as soon as we got back into this area and heard there was a hungry cheetah around, we've been camping out with him. He had a little look. Oh, morning. He had a little look at some Thompson's gazelle, but they were too far out into a very large open clearing to be able to have a go. And we're gonna not keep you here any longer, because Tristan's got a beautiful scene back in Djuma in the sky.
Now, there's not only vultures soaring in the Maasai Mara, but there is one here at Sabi Sands too. So it was a white-backed vulture that was busy circling there. It seems to have disappeared a little bit. They do move quite fast, but I will show you quickly what it looks like. I'm not sure which vulture James had. I know he had some vultures, but I don't know which one exactly. Now, this is the vulture that we saw circling. There it comes. There we go. And as it turns, we should see a little white piece on the back of its, between its wings there, and that's how we know it's a white-backed vulture. Oh, it's turned the wrong way now. Hopefully it will turn again shortly. There it is. You see the white patch there? So easily diagnostic from that white patch. There's no other vulture that shows that white little band when flying. So this is what they look like a little bit more up close. This is our most common vulture that we actually get in this particular part of the world. So it's these guys over here. They have this sort of creamy caramel wing and the nice dark trailing edge, and then that's that little white patch that I was talking about just now in flight. And you notice that they've also got a dark eye, which separates them from the vulture above, which has a honey-colored eye. So this Cape vulture on top is the one that it could be confused with, but unfortunately that one has a yellow eye and not the dark eye like this white-backed vulture. Now, Paja, you were wondering the wingspan of this particular vulture. This particular vulture will have a wingspan of about 2.3 meters, so that should be close to, I think, about 7.5, 8 feet, somewhere around there, if I'm not mistaken. So quite a massive wingspan, and that's what they will do, is what it's busy doing now, is using the thermals from the sun that is out and beating down, and all these hot airwaves that are going up. It's just riding in circles going up, using its incredible eyesight to then spot carcasses that might be down on the ground that it can come down and feed on. So it's really a very clever way of doing things, and not very much energy that's used. When you've got massive wings like that, you don't have to stress too much about having to flap them, because as those thermals go, it's easy just to ride them and go right up into the sky. Now, we haven't gotten to our first waterhole yet. We are almost there. We're slowly but surely making our way. We've just been getting distracted with a few things on the way. So we saw those impalas, and then we had vulture, and now we've got probably the most beautiful bird that we get here in the Sabi Sands. So it's just landed on that tree over there. Oh no, don't fly away. That is a lilac-breasted roller. Now, the lilac-breasted roller has got these electric blue trailing edges to its wings, dark blue below that, and then it's got a lilac breast with a little turquoise crown on it. And these rollers are predatory of insects. You'll find them often on branches like that are bare, and from there they watch what's going on, and as soon as any insects try and come out of the grass, so maybe a grasshopper that flies or something like that, they come flying down quickly and grab it and then eat it, and they can actually subdue quite large prey. But it must be definitely the most photographed bird in Africa just because of its coloration. It really is beautiful. There it goes. Now it's making a bit of noise because it might have seen another roller somewhere close by, and so it's just squawking like that to tell everybody that this is my territory and to stay out. They are quite territorial. That was a nice surprise. Didn't expect to see one here. They do like these more sort of openish grassy sections, so the section on our left you'll see looks much shorter than the section on the right. Now the reason for that is that section has actually been purposely cut as a fire break, so it's to make sure that if there is a fire anywhere around here that it doesn't cross over from this right side to the left side. Sinak, you're wondering about what threats vultures face. Well, there are numerous. So probably the biggest threat that vultures have is loss of habitat. So loss of nesting sites really is a big one for them. So that you find that as we inhabit places and we try and get into areas, we often will destroy perfect trees that they can nest in. So that's one. Two is we put power lines wherever we go, and power lines for vultures are terrible things. They end up flying into them and they die from that, so that's really a big problem. And then the last one is actual poisoning of vultures. So vultures are used in the muti trade. Now muti is basically a trade of animals within Africa and which have house beliefs about them, and they basically poison these vultures to use them for the sangomas or witch doctors in medicine. So it's really a big problem, and lots of vultures have been poisoned. The other thing is farmers and varying others that try poison carcasses of animals that have been preyed upon by things like caracal or leopard, as they try to get rid of that predator, and then the outcome is the vultures come in and they feed off it and also die too. So those are the biggest problems facing vultures, and that's why most of them are on the threatened list. That was a lilac-breasted vulture. I mean a roller, not a vulture that we were looking at, but it was just so nice because he was sitting perfectly for us so we could see its colors. So this might be the mate of the one that we saw just now, or the one that it was trying to chase away. So that's probably why it's doing that. Now actually, I don't know why I drove past them, but I want to show you something else. But I only kind of registered now. I was so busy thinking about our vultures and why they're so threatened at the moment that I forgot to show you this. There we go. So, Senzo, if you can please put those ever so pretty paws marks on camera for me. So I'm going to move now, but you'll see that just here are 2 paw marks. Now those are paws for a leopard, a very small young female leopard that we actually saw last night, and these are the tracks that we used to be able to find her. She's a female that is known as Shongile, so she's the little princess of this area. She was from the most dominant female that we had, and since her mother disappeared, she's been walking around and tries to kind of stay under the radar, but so we don't see her as much as we used to. But we know she's a leopard for a number of reasons. These tracks, firstly, the size of them and the shape of them scream leopard already. You could maybe confuse this size with something like a caracal, but it's got the 3 lobes at the back, and then the toe is very close, and you can see quite rounded in this section over here, and that's the front foot, whereas the back foot would be a little bit more slender. So both of these are the front pads, and then she's walked along, and there will be a little back foot somewhere here. Unfortunately, we drove over a lot of these tracks yesterday when we were tracking her, and that will be a lot more elongated. Something like a caracal would be probably slightly smaller, and you'd find that the toes sit slightly more away from the pad than what you see with the leopard. So that's our leopard tracks, but unfortunately they're not fresh ones that we can follow today and try and find her. I actually tracked her this morning over our boundary and south into a different part of the reserve, so we're not going to be able to probably follow any further. But maybe, or just maybe, the waterhole that we're going to now is a favorite haunt for her, so I'm sure that she might come back. You never know, maybe this afternoon she's already decided to come back and might be sitting at the waterhole itself. Now I've got to make sure that I've plugged myself in because I tend to forget about that. Oh, is this lilac-breasted roller going to stay there? Look at the colours on this bird. Isn't that magnificent? Surely has got to be one of the most beautiful birds in the world. And this one is very relaxed. It's just sitting right next to the car. But I was saying earlier that they are predatory of insects, and you can see that with that shape of beak. They have that little downturned tip with a little hook on it, which is indicative of any predatory bird. So any birds that have that little downturned beak, you know, feed off insects. Bobby, you're wondering if their tail is just 2 long feathers or if there's multiple feathers. Bobby, there's multiple feathers with 2 streamers, as they called, that come off. So those are just 2 individual feathers that finish off the tip of the tail, but there are multiple feathers that are in between those 2 streamers. So when a roller's in flight and you see it spread its tail, you'll actually see all the feathers much like a normal bird, but those 2 streamers extend. So when they're sitting, it just looks like the 2 feathers that are sticking off the back end. Right, now we've discussed vultures and what threatens them here in South Africa, and I believe James has got a bird of prey. Now, I'm not sure which one, but maybe he can tell us more on whether or not it's threatened.
I don't think it's threatened, everybody. I think that is the fairly unthreatened Gabbar goshawk, unless I'm very much mistaken. I'll just quickly check its distribution. It's got a pink cere, which is the bit just around the nose, behind the beak, and it's also got pink legs, and the big distinguisher as this thing flies off, of course, is not the legs or the beak, but the white band that is at the top of the tail. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he is. So as he flies off, he's got a very distinctive white band at the top of the tail. Otherwise quite difficult to tell apart from some of the others. And despite, you know what, despite the vast size difference that there is between the dark chanting goshawk and the Gabbar goshawk, and I've had this problem since I was, since I started guiding. The Gabbar is 36 centimeters tall, which is just over a foot. Which I think that is. This is very embarrassing. The dark chanting is 56, so almost sort of 2 feet tall. And because I have such an utterly appalling sense of proportion, I often struggle to tell the difference, but my instinct went with Gabbar, so I'm going to go with that. I mean, really, you should be able to see the difference between a 1 foot and a 2 foot bird. Let's just go a little bit closer. Sina, you want to know, C-Mac, you want to know what Gabbar means? I have absolutely no idea. I'll try and find out for you. We'll just sneak a little bit closer. We can't go too close because then Manu's going to be stuck with the roof underneath. Say when, Manu. It's alright still, hey? We'll try and get him side on. There he goes. No, it's definitely a Gabbar. Good. Alrighty, let us continue. Our plan now, we've left the realm of the Sassage Tree Pride. We're going to head around towards Egyptian Goose Pan, see what's going on there. Fascinating thing we saw the other night of a lioness sort of trying to kill a wildebeest that she chased into the mud. That wildebeest eventually died there, but not from the effects of lion, but rather from the effects of exhaustion and then drowning. And if we don't find anything there, we'll head down towards the salt licks, which, if nothing else, is a very beautiful area. Storms are starting to build, as they always do, every single afternoon, like clockwork. I think they're taking a little bit more time over it today, which is good, so maybe we'll escape it. Alright, Scott has now managed to find not only some signal but also his flat cheetahs.
Hello, and let's hope the stormy weather does not interfere with our safari adventures, because it is obviously not going to allow us to do exactly what we please. Now, the cheetah are doing exactly what they please. We've got no say in what they do either. They are all fast asleep. We are with one male here, sleeping in that bush. It's hard to believe, but there is a spotted cheetah cat. There we go. There are some Thompson's gazelle not too far away from it. So let's show you where that is. It's just somewhere over there, I think. Nice view. So that is the perfect size meal for an individual male cheetah. I mean, they can take down bigger, certainly, but that would be a relatively easy meal regarding size. Obviously not easy to catch, but once they do, at least it won't be thrown off like it was this morning by a young topi. That's not the only cheetah in this valley. I know we showed you a brief glimpse a little bit earlier, but I just want to give you an update, because we could actually see them sleeping in the shade of a large tree. There we go. So in the shade there you can see a few blobs, a few touristas enjoying the sighting. Interestingly, the cheetah was up, well, one of the cheetahs was up that tree, right into the top fork, or the first fork, so quite high up this morning. I don't know what I was doing. I was looking around, watching the birds and the bees, and the next thing I looked up and the cheetah was up the tree, so I didn't see how it managed to climb up, but we did see it coming down. I can actually show you it coming down, I think. Actually, I can't. I've already uploaded it onto my computer. I'm traveling with the computer. Some of you saw my computer this morning. I've already uploaded a picture onto Instagram from one of the pictures from this morning. Got a beautiful photo up, and that is the joy about spending a long time out. Oh, VM spotted something. Where are you taking us? Oh, okay. I thought VM spotted something on the horizon, but he's just leveling off the camera. So, basically the plan is to wait with this male. He could poke his head up and chase that Thompson's gazelle that we just showed you at any time. Failing that, if those other 5, the musketeers, get up and mobile, then we will follow them. So we're not far away. And just so that you know, the musketeers' favorite food is wildebeest. And I would just like to show you that there's an expanse of wildebeest. Look at all of those options, and plenty more in that area. So I'm guessing that they are going to make another kill tonight. I'd be highly surprised, at least if they don't try. But the thing is, every time they try, they have succeeded. So those are my predictions. If you had plans on going anywhere, I would cancel them if you would like to see a cheetah hunting, because there's a strong possibility that that will happen at some point this afternoon. If only we knew when, then we could help you coordinate your plans a little bit better, but we don't. So you just have to sit tight and hope for the best, as we have been doing. I haven't heard anything from Bex for a while. Hello, Becca. Oh, very good. No problem. No, all good. Ah, Susan. Very wonderful to have you with us. You would like to know, how is it that we camp out here? Basically, we've got some mattresses. VM, Q mattress. There we go. That's VM's fancy Maasai Shuka fabric. We just split one single mattress down the middle and got them covered up. And then, basically, I don't know if we'll be able to show you. Let me try. You'll have to excuse me, I'm barefooted. It's very hot, and I do not like wearing shoes. Let me try. You'll have to excuse me, I'm barefooted. It's very hot, and I do not like wearing shoes when it's hot. But basically, down here, and then kind of sleep like this. We've got pillows and blankets, but last night the wind was so hectic that the blankets were blowing off us. So last night was a tough night. Also, the cheetah were quite busy, so it's difficult to sleep. Even with cheetah, they're typically kind of quite busy, so it's difficult to sleep. Even with cheetah, that typically kind of are supposed to be more quite a lot. Let me just plug my earpiece back in at night, and that obviously makes you sleep with one eye open. We need to devise a way that as soon as they exit the screen, an alarm goes off, and then we can wake up. That would be easy. We could just leave a camera on them. Usually the girls in FC keep an eye on things for us, and as soon as they move out, they radio us and be like, quickly, quickly, the cheetah have gone or the lion have gone. But we don't have enough people at the moment to be able to do that, so we let the girls sleep last night, and we just took a gamble, and we did luckily manage to stay with them. We nearly lost them at about 2:33 in the morning when they got active, but all was good. So that's how we sleep out here. The typical breakfast we have out here, that's from Ask Me. Breakfast isn't a big one. We have a cup of coffee when we get up. And then what we did today is there's a camp called Old Shaiki, which is just outside the reserve along the Talek River, about 5 minutes from the one entrance gate, the Talek gate into the reserve. And they very kindly offered to look after us. So whenever we need anything, we just bomb in there. The kitchen gives us new food, cooks us a quick breakfast. So this morning we had Spanish omelets for breakfast. So it wasn't too tough, I guess, once we headed back there. Had a quick Spanish omelette, a shower, new shirts, polished one's ivory, and then we came straight back out with some stew and rice for dinner and some rolls. We came with plain rolls to make chip rolls. VM's a fan of the chip rolls, so just butter and then crisps and some cheese and tomato rolls. So breakfasts usually we have away, or we've got nuts and biscuits and all kind of like nibbly things that keep us going. And I guess thankfully when you're on the vehicle you're not burning too much energy, so just as well we're not eating too much. Any updates there? Oh, kind of. You can see its head now. Okay. So, like I said, you know the plan now. We're not going anywhere. We've got good options. We've got this single hungry cheetah. We've got another coalition of 5 males who are also going to be getting hungry. Ooh, a yawn is a good sign. But for now, you're going to head across to Mr. Henry and help him search for some lions.
Well, yes, some help would be very good. Thank you, everybody, for offering. There's some birds in that little capparis bush there. Let's see if we can't identify them. They look like little cisticolas. Indeed they are. Which species of cisticola, one might ask? Until they call, it will be almost impossible to tell. Oh, there's a juvenile. Now, we do know what those are, don't we? Because somebody told me what they are. I've obviously forgotten. I'll keep looking now. I'm very glad you got that tour of Scott's vehicle and sleeping accommodations, the galley, the bunk room. VM, of course, is the world's best camper, so Scott could not be in better company. It is... oh, come on, Henry. Oh, what was it? You're chirping. Was it a chirping cisticola? I can't remember. For those of you who very kindly told me the last time we identified a cisticola, the juvenile of which had a yellow belly, won't you remind me, please? It's gone from my brain yet again. Anyway, might be the stout. No, it's not the stout. They're definitely cisticolas and they're enjoying the afternoon as we are. Or the tiny, maybe. I don't know. Can't figure it out. Unless they start to call, it will be very difficult to tell. Rebecca is saying the pectoral patched cisticola. That's not a bad guess, given that they too have got a yellow-bellied juvenile. So maybe they are the pectoral patch cisticola. I'll play the sound for you before we move on. Oh, very distinctive. See if they come out. Look at that one there. Let's see if they call now. Can't hear them. All right, well, the little family's moved on, so I think we'll do the same. We're halfway along this fairly main road towards the pan where we want to go. So we've been driving relatively fast. But we don't have to drive too quickly. We can see what else we can see on the way. Now, about a week ago, this place was just covered in wildebeest. You could barely move. And those pictures, I don't know if you saw them, that Manu got in the balloon flying over this area where it looked like somebody had either kind of emptied a bottle of iron filings or sprinkled peppercorns all over the place, or the enormous ant nest had escaped into the area. Well, those amazing shots were shot over this plain here, which is now totally free of any wildebeest. What is that bird? Just on the road there at the junction. I can't see it anymore, I'm afraid. What a pity. Alright, I'm going to continue driving at quite a speed, which is going to be unpleasant for you, so let us head back to South Africa and find out what on earth Tristan is doing with his life.
Oh, there's a bird there. So from one bird to another, now hopefully these birds will stay with Rusty squeaking the way it is. No, don't fly away. Don't be naughty. It's a black-crowned chagra that was there. Oh no, it's just flown. Oh well. Birds do that. Sorry, Senzo. There's no ways you're going to see it. It flew off a little bit. Have you got another bird there? Maybe you've got a different bird for me. Because that's not the same one that I saw. That looks like another one of the rollers. So, no. Our chagra flew off. But what you can hear around me is the cisticolas. So this cisticola, we do know this is a rattling cisticola that is chirping away, and it's upset because I've come driving past. You'll find with these guys, they don't like when we're around, and you've got the chagra there. Well done. So there's our black-crowned chagra, which also has a very cool call. It sounds like somebody whistling through the bush. There it is. Is that the brown-crowned or the black-crowned now? You get both species here. I saw a black-crowned fly off, but that looks like a black-crowned chagra. You can see the two dark lines that are running over the head. So I'll quickly find the other chagras and then I'll be able to. So apparently I'm having more luck. Chagra that we saw there, not a black crown. Sorry, my fault. I was looking now nicely. You can just see that it's got the brown top to the head with a little black line there. I thought I saw a bit more black on the head than I actually did, but now that I can see it on the monitor a little bit better, and I'll show you the differences between the two of them. So if you have a look here, you've got the chagras, so they look quite similar. You've got the brown crowned one on top. That is what we just saw now. You see it's got that black eye stripe, a white above the eye, and then a slight black above the white, and then brown on the top of the head. So that is what we just saw now. And then the black crowned, you can see it's got the same black through the eye, a little bit of white on top, and then a little bit of black over the top of that. Now, the thing is that what we saw from the side, they look very similar. But once you see this bird drop its head slightly and you see that brown, then you know that it's the brown-crowned chagra. So there we go. Now I was saying, talking about the bush, I know James was talking about what the Maasai Mara looks from the air, and wondering whether or not, well, what Djuma would look like from the air. Luckily, we don't have to worry or think too hard about what it would look like from a balloon, because, well, we've seen Djuma from the air from our drone that we have that flies around here. So it is pretty cool to see it. It's a lot drier than you think it is. When you see the bush now from this ground level, lots of grass, lots of trees, and it looks as though it's quite lush and bushy. I suppose lush is not the right word, but it looks bushy. When you go up into the air, it's quite scary actually how barren it looks at the moment. It looks a lot drier from up there and a lot more open. So it's quite interesting to see it. In the summer months, it's a bit of a different story. It becomes quite dense here very quickly, and it's a carpet of green trees that fulfills the landscape. It's really quite beautiful from the drone in summer. I always quite like it, and lots of birds of prey that are flying around in the summer months. Now in the winter, we do see a few birds of prey, but not quite as many as what we would see in the summer months. The good news, though, as I was saying, I was attempting to try and find some elephants. I did find tracks of them just north of Twin Dams, and they looked like they were going in a northeasterly direction. So I went up the Mulawati, no sign there. Checking Mamba now, just to see if they haven't crossed Mamba. And if there's nothing here, I'm going to head towards Leadwood Road and see if they didn't turn a little bit more east. Now, sorry Alice, you're going to have to repeat that. The radio just went completely static and I didn't hear one word you said other than Seanak. Seanak, so the bird family that the chagga is closely related to is the shrikes, or bush shrikes. That's the closest relative that it has, so they are quite similar. You'll find them all grouped together, similar kind of beak structure and even shape of the bird, very much like the shrike family. So that's the closest relatives for them. It's the closest relatives for them, and they're a lot more brush, so you'll find them just under the tree line, kind of going in and out of different trees, so they can be really tough to keep up with. Now, Senzo, do you see any sign of elephants anywhere? I don't. I wonder if they haven't stuck around the Mulawati just off Twin Dams, because I didn't check a little bit south towards Twin Dams itself side of Mulawati. Or they've carried on a little bit further north than I checked. Maybe they're making their way towards Gauri Dam. That's where they could be heading as well. Taylor, who's 10 years old, and not the Taylor that is around on Safari Live after she was vanquished from YouTube chat this morning. Now, Taylor, you want to know if we see spiders around? Well, yes, lots of spiders. Not so much now because it's winter. The spiders, either some of them have died because they are only around during the summer months, then they lay their eggs and they die after they lay their eggs, unfortunately. But there are some around and they're all just hiding out, trying to stay out of the cold, because for a little insect, the cold is very tough for them to survive. So in summer, they all come out and there's spiders everywhere. And James in Kenya and Scott both love spiders and will spend a lot of time looking at the spiders and going over them. And if you turn over the leaves, you can find the sack spiders and the garden spiders and the orb spiders and the crab spiders and you name it kind of spiders all over the place. And so if you like spiders, Taylor, and you want to see them, then you must carry on watching, because as soon as our bushwalks are up and running, which is soon, then we're going to be looking at a lot of those kind of things. Now, here's another beautiful bird, since we're on the bird topic today. Rusty, stop your squeakiness with the brakes. It's called a crested barbet, and look at those colors. You see bright oranges, reds, yellows, bits of black and spots on the wings, and then that big crest that gives it its name, crested barbet. Now you see the beak of this bird is very different to the beak of the vulture or the lilac-breasted roller or even that chagga that we saw just now, that all have that down-turned hooked beak. These guys have a very heavy beak because they are fruit and seed eaters, so they need that big beak to peck away at fruit and to be able to crush little pips and seeds out of the fruit to gain nutrients. And one of their favorite meals is actually mistletoe, funny enough, and you'll find the barbets do go after mistletoe. So crested and black-collared barbets, which are the two that we see here regularly, they'll both go to mistletoe and they'll feed off it. And the problem with mistletoe is that the seed is very, very sticky. So what you'll find is they go to branches, particularly of big trees. Oh, don't go to the toilet. Are you going to go to the toilet? I think it's going to show us its back end and go to the toilet. What is with all of them, all these animals that have been doing this week? Luckily, this one decided not to. You can see it's a bit windy, though. Its crest is being blown all over all over the place. Now, Alice is saying they want to play Who Dung It. Yes, maybe they're missing Tara, and they want to do Who Dung It so that we can all see. What are you doing? Maybe its backside is a little bit warm, and it's now just cooling it down by lifting its tail and getting a bit of a breeze to cool down the rear end. But I've honestly never seen a crested barbet doing that, other than when it's going to defecate. So Rebecca says that when James is around, all the animals use the toilet. Well, we'll have to send a photo, a screenshot. Let's flood James Hendry's Twitter account with screenshots of all animals that have been going to the toilet the last few days in Djuma. There we go. It dropped a little bomb there. There we go. So there's a screenshot just for James that we can all send to him over the next little bit. I'm sure James will love to see those. Should send him one of our jackal from the other day. That was highly entertaining as well. So I was saying about the mistletoe and how they'll then go to big trees and wipe the seed off. And the problem with mistletoe is it actually grows on trees itself. So these barbets are a little bit of a problem because they take the mistletoe and they actually wipe it onto trees, and then the mistletoe becomes a parasitic plant on that tree itself. So the barbets, while they are cool to eat things, varying seeds and fruits. Oh, here comes a Bateleur eagle, another bird. Seems to be a bird day this afternoon. We haven't seen birds like this for a while. They seem to have been a little bit on the quiet side over the past few days. We also have had so many animals to look at in the last week that we haven't really been paying that much attention to birds. Now, this is called a Bateleur eagle, and this is a juvenile Bateleur eagle. You can see it's still brown in coloration, short tail. Well, actually longer tail than what it would have been if it's an adult. As soon as it becomes an adult, the tail starts to shorten and its coloration will change from that drab, horrible brown to the nice black, white and striking red of the face and feet. I think it's landed there somewhere, Senzo. Let's try see if we go forward. Maybe we'll get lucky and find them. So Alice is saying Bateleur eagles make her think of Connor, because we're talking about the drone just now and what it looks like from above. Well, Connor used to love filming the Bateleurs from the drone, so I suppose that's a fair assumption. Now, there's more elephant tracks here going down the road. You can see them, big discs that are walking and filling the road with these big circular patterns. Almost looks like crop circles going down the road, so there we go. But the problem is that these are not the freshest tracks. You can see there's varying things on top of them, so branches and little footprints of what looks like Deka or Steenbok that have gone across there. Might actually be something else. It's quite far away that I'm looking. But those are not from this afternoon. These are not the elephant tracks we're searching. Maybe these are the ones that went to the dam where they drank and then they started to turn northwards from there. So we'll have to just try and see if we can follow these and work out where they go. They're from this morning sometime, so they're not too old. Ah, that's quite nice. Senzo, can you show this on my right-hand side here? Because there's a really nice track that would confuse a few people, I'm sure. So just on my right, just come down a little bit for me, Senzo. Down, 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 down. Okay, there we go. A little bit more, a little bit more. So that there, you see there's a pattern in the sand there that almost looks like a brush has gone through it, or a very wiry brush, should we call it. Now that track there, a lot of people probably would be very confused as to what that is, and a lot would have said that is probably from the trunk of an elephant or something like that, but it's not. Even though it's in amongst the elephant tracks, it's from a piece of grass. Now there's a grass stem that is just hanging over slightly, and as the wind is blowing, it's dragging the grass back and forward, and that grass is creating that pattern. So it's not an elephant's trunk, it's the grass that is in amongst them. There it is. That's the piece of grass that has been dragged back and forth and is leaving that striated pattern on the sand. Isn't that cool? So not only animals leave tracks, we see that plants do as well. Very nice. Thank you, Senzo. Well done. I wonder where our Bateleur landed. It did land here somewhere. Is that it there? Yes, I can see it now. Is it? No, it's a part of a tree. Jamie, you're wondering if we have the same kinds of grasses in the Mara as we do in Djuma. Jamie, I have not the foggiest idea. We'll have to ask James or Scott, who have spent some time in both. Well, a lot of time in both, and they'll be able to probably give you a more educated answer as to what the plant life is there. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the plant life in the Mara at all, so I'm sure there are some cross-species, or species that are the same in both, but I would imagine that they also have very different grass species that side as well. So we'll have to ask James. I'm sure he will be able to help us and be able to tell us what grass species those wildebeest and zebra love to chomp on. I would imagine there will be some of the same species, though. that's the thing about the Mara, is it's such a big learning curve for all of us. Because even if you visited the Mara, there's a lot of things about visiting a place as opposed to actually working in a place. Now, when you visit somewhere... Hello, yellow-billed hornbill. It's just a bird road, this, as we've been driving, and keep finding birds everywhere. And he looks beautiful with this backlight. The beak is glowing bright yellow. If only he would turn towards us. So it would be really nice if he did. Or she. He or she. There we go. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Right, while we admire our hornbill and its best side as it cocks its head and poses ever so slightly towards us like a model on a cover of a magazine, let's go across to 5 other members of the cat family that tend to love a posing act and, well, are not found here in South Africa, but only in the Maasai Mara.
Well, is this not a magnificent sight? Not to take anything away from a yellow-billed hornbill, but this is quite spectacular. We haven't got to see them on the move in beautiful sunshine too much yet, and we also haven't got to see them on the move towards a ginormous mass of wildebeest in the sunshine like they are heading towards now. So we're about 100 meters away from them. They're coming straight towards us, as you can see. And then on the right-hand side of our vehicle, we've got a huge herd of wildebeest starting over there and then panning all the way across. So lots of potential meals here. There's also lots of tourists here enjoying the sighting. They're all behaving themselves on the road, which is wonderful. We have got special permission to be off the road with you guys, and isn't that a huge privilege that we are allowed to get you guys into pole position to make sure that you don't miss out on any of this live safari action. Hello to Sky. You would like to know how far north into the conservancies do these cheetahs travel, and I'm guessing about 15 or 20 kilometers into a conservancy called Naibosho is the one area that they go into, as well as another conservancy, I forget the name of it, just to the kind of east or southeast of Naibosho. I've done a bit of research into these guys, and they actually only joined together about 5 weeks ago. So, sorry, about 5 weeks ago. Sorry, I'm just trying to flash one of the vehicles that has come off road that shouldn't be. Otherwise it creates a bit of an avalanche effect, and everyone does it. So I was chatting with Eleanor, one of the researchers, and there's several cheetah researchers in this area, and she said that these cheetah only came together, or they were only noted in this area around December last year, and they're not too sure on exactly how many of them were brothers, if any were related, how they joined up, where they joined up. So they're actually doing some DNA analysis on them. They've got scat samples from all 5 of them, and basically they are going to be able to, in the next few weeks, determine who of them are brothers and who of them are strangers. So that'll be really interesting to know. Wonderful. While these guys think about what to do next, we are going to send you across to James with some wandering stripes.
Wandering stripes, well, that is a new one. Yes, some wandering stripes, good. They're having a drink. That one is not wandering anymore. The one you can see there has ceased to wander. It has ceased to do anything. The wandering stripes are having a drink here at the pan where we saw the dead wildebeest. And indeed they are drinking of his rotting flesh as we speak. And so they've clearly got constitutions far stronger than ours, because if you were to drink out of this water, I promise you, you would get very sick indeed. They seem to have been chased out of the water by 2 superb starlings, which seems a bit strange, given that they're, well, A, substantially larger than superb starlings, and B, well, I've never seen a superb starling take down a zebra. Have you, Manu? I think it's unlikely. But they are very skittish at the water always. And it's not only because of crocodiles, it's because something in them knows that predators will congregate around waterholes and use them because they know that the prey has to come and drink at some stage. I wonder if there isn't just something sitting the other side there, maybe, popping its head up out of the grass. Don't really see why they should be nervous otherwise. Perhaps a sniff of lion on the wind. Well, this one doesn't care. He's going to have a drink. He doesn't mind. I do not see any of the Egyptian goose pride around here. There's another pan down the road which we'll go and have a look at shortly. And then we'll go down towards the Salt Lick area. As I say that, the wind starts to pick up. I may have just felt one drop of rain. And these clouds, well, I think that they're far less advanced than they were at this time yesterday. So I'm going to hope for a rain-free afternoon. Now, Jamie, you're wondering if we have the same type of grass here as we do at Djuma in South Africa. Yeah, well, many of the grasses are the same. The red oat grass is known just as red grass in South Africa, and that's definitely there. Not in nearly the same profusion as it is here. I've seen some thatching grass species, some diheteropogon species that we get there. So yeah, I would say you probably find that about 50%, or at least 50 to 60% of the grasses that you find here, you would find in South Africa, and there'll be some that you don't. And there'll also be local sub-specific variations. Very nice indeed. You know, we know, of course, that the zebra, the Grant zebra, is not quite the same as the Birchall zebra. It's the same species, different subspecies of the plain zebra, though. Birchall's the one that we get down in South Africa, the Grant's up here. They could absolutely interbreed with each other, but because of geographical separation for a substantial period, they've just very slowly drifted apart from each other. And I suppose that the grasses would do the same, and they're often a lot older as well. Francis, you're wondering if the hyenas will come and eat this wildebeest. I personally don't think this wildebeest is going to be eaten by anything other than birds. If it was the case that there was nothing else on offer, then hyenas might try and pull it out of the water. But it's so muddy in there and so difficult to get to, and actually dangerous. Excuse me. It's quite dangerous for hyenas to get in there because the mud is so deep, and so they could suffer the same fate as the wildebeest. So I think you'll find that they will avoid it if they can. I mean, it's been there now. When did we film it? Was it Sunday? Monday, yesterday? No, Sunday. So 2 days ago, and nothing's had a touch of it. I suspect some birds have sat on it, but I think that's probably about all. So cautious when they go anywhere near the water. Chanel, you say, are the zebras skittish due to the smell of death in the water? Yeah, there may be an element of that. I don't think it's necessarily in the water. I mean, there are carcasses strewn about the Mara all over the place now, so if the smell of death disturbed them, I suspect they'd be having a fairly disturbing time of it. So I'm going to say no, I don't think so. Now, that was caused simply by the marabou stork taking off next to them. So they're very skittish, very nervy. Stunning, well done, Manu. Gorgeous of the marabou stork disappearing into the grasslands. Now, Sandra, you're asking in which area you find the Grevy's zebra. Well, the Grevy's zebra is found further north in Kenya. And I will just take this opportunity to say that on the back of the car, we won't show her to you because she's starting to look a little panicked, is Shivani. And Shivani is going to be joining us on our TV show on Saturday morning. She's a lion expert from up north, where she's nodding vigorously. There are Grevy's zebra, correct? So much drier areas and fascinating looking zebras. They're, I think, a bit stockier than these chaps. The stripes are much closer together, and I think they look much more donkey-like than horse-like. Anyway, we'll chat to Shivani about that. I'll try and get her on camera before Saturday, but she's just easing into it today. Now, Sinak, you want to know the difference between a Grevy's and a Birchall zebra? Well, they're a totally different species. So, in Africa, we get 4 species of zebra. The plains zebra, which the Grants and the Birchalls are one. 2 mountain zebras, 2 species of mountain zebra, and then 1 species of Grevy's zebra. And I'll show you some pictures of them in my little book, once I have found them. There they are. And in fact, this one counts. Have you got them there? All right, well, there's the Birchalls or plain zebra, otherwise known as the common zebra. The one we get down in South Africa is Equus burchelli, that one there. Or we might even get something called, Equus burchelli, that one. And it's most obvious by the fact that it's got no stripes on the belly, and it's also got it's got shadow stripes in between. There is this one, Equus quagga bohemi, or the Grant's zebra, and that's that one there. And you can see they've got stripes all the way to the base, and they don't have the distinctive shadow stripes. Now, if we go, and they could all interbreed very comfortably with each other. Now, there are the mountain zebras. They also look a little bit more sort of donkey-like, if you like. But in this book, it's got the 2 mountain zebras, the Cape and the Hartmans, as 1 species. So this has only got 3 species of zebra. I think that has probably been disputed a number of times and then undisputed. So at the moment, they seem to be 1 species. That thing is an extinct animal called a quagga. And then there's the Grevy's. And you can see the stripes much closer together, huge ears. And sometimes these pictures are not particularly accurate, but there it is. And the other equid that we get in Africa is the African wild ass, but you'll have to go all the way to Somalia to see that, I think. Is that correct? Yes, Ethiopia and Somalia to see that. You don't want to go there. Good. All right, I believe that Tristan has managed to find a Grevy zebra in South Africa, and he'd like to show it to you. I'm talking rubbish.
Well, we've managed to catch up with our Ellies. We found them, and are you going to come and feed off the bush right in front of the car? Yes, you are. So, if you don't believe me that the car is there, that's where our elephant is eating from. Isn't this cool? Nothing better than being this close to an Ellie. As long as you don't eat the car, we're all good. Well, yes. So I believe James was saying that I found a Grevy's zebra, and of course we know James is talking utter rubbish because the Grevy's zebra only occur up in East Africa. And one person, well, actually I have seen a Grevy's zebra before, but one other person who's seen a Grevy's zebra would be Scott. And I know Scott absolutely loves the Grevy's zebra. They are a beautiful species. They've got big ears and those beautiful fine pinstripes. Very, very pretty animals. But isn't this amazing? This elephant is literally feeding basically underneath the car. It's taking branches that are sitting just underneath the left side of the car, and so, like I say, you think that I'm joking when I'm saying that is close, but if I were to be sitting on the front of the car, that elephant would basically be touching my feet. That's how close it is to that front edge, so really is quite something. I didn't think she would come wandering over to this area. She was quite far away, actually, and she just decided this is where she wanted to come and feed. Thank you for that. That was very special. I'm going to just feed next to us instead now, if that's okay. That's a far more comfortable distance to have. You can actually see our shadows. Senzo, wave to everybody. Mary Kay, you say so nice, not bothered at all by us. I know, Mary Kay, that was probably one of the closest in terms of feeding behavior that I've ever had. Normally with ellies, they don't feed that close. They will come to this area and they will sort of sniff you out and come and check. And they'll check out the car and they'll smell and whatever. But to actually feed at that distance is really quite something. So that was incredibly special. And I believe a lot of the team in the Mara are saying how much they miss these intimate ellie sightings that we get here in the sands. And, well, I know it is super special. We were talking about it yesterday, and, you know, we've had some incredible ellie sightings in the last week. Tara had some and I've had some. It's just been insane with them all around the car and being so relaxed. It really is very, very, very cool, and we get a little bit sort of blasé about it, which is not the right way to be. Is, you know, it's when you sit and there's ellies all around and you've got an ellie sniffing you like that, it's kind of got to take a moment and actually just realize how fortunate we are and how super lucky we are to spend time in amongst these big giants and that they're so relaxed with us. It is a very, very cool situation. So hopefully all of you at home are loving it just as much as Senzo and I are. Now, interestingly, there's an elephant over here. Now, this elephant is quite a older elephant. It's probably, I would say now, must be about, I would say 8 or 9 years old, maybe a little bit younger, 7 maybe, 7 or 8. But look there, no tusks that you can see coming out. So this individual is tuskless. It does not have any tusks growing, and this is something that we've been seeing more and more of over the last few years, particularly from the females. And there tends to be a lot of female elephants that carry this gene, that they don't grow tusks at all. Now, there's a lot of theories as to why they don't have tusks, and I personally am not 100% sure of which theory I actually believe. I don't think any of them really ring true just yet, and there will be a reason for it. I have a funny feeling it might be something to do with diet or with some sort of nutrient deficiency that they have, that when they are growing inside of the mother, that they get a little bit of an issue and they don't actually grow those tusks properly. That's something like that. I don't know if they maybe, because a lot of people are saying that they're evolving against hunting to not produce tusks, but then you would see it in male offspring as well, where as it's only in the females, and we know that the females don't use their tusks nearly as much to defend themselves, so it could be something to do with that. Now, Leslie, wondering how much their trunks weigh. In an adult male elephant, the trunk will weigh 300 pounds of just pure muscle. So that's how heavy the trunk is, which is absolutely amazing when you think that it's just basically a modified nose for it to weigh 300 pounds. Imagine having a 300-pound nose. That would be quite an unfortunate problem to deal with. But in the elephant world, being the size that they are, it is most certainly anything but a hindrance. It is perfect for them to sustain themselves and to survive. They're able to use it to drink, to eat, to even defend themselves somewhat. Are you also going to come say hello? You lot are very relaxed. Hello. And off she goes. So cool. Suma, you're wondering how many species of elephants there are in Africa. Well, there's just one, the African elephant, but there is a subspecies, which is known as, well, two subspecies, the desert and the forest elephant, and then you've got the savanna elephant, so I suppose 3 subspecies under the general banner of an African elephant, but only one actual species of animal, and then the subspecies that are dictated by their environment that they spend most of their time in. There we go, there's another screenshot for James. Quickly, everybody, capture that and tag James Henry. There we go. That will fill him with delight, I'm sure. I feel like James is going to probably be quite upset with me at some point if we just keep flooding his whole Twitter page with all kinds of pictures of animals defecating, but, well, it will be worth a laugh anyway. So it's just the one species, and then, like I say, according to area and small little changes that they have, so the forest elephants being much smaller, as well as the desert elephants, then what you see in the savanna elephants allows them to then become a subspecies, but it's just the African elephant itself. The only other species of elephant in the world is the Asian elephant, which obviously occurs in India and through Sri Lanka and parts of Indonesia as well. So that's the 2 species in their distribution range. Interesting that there wasn't an elephant species in South America or in the Americas, or should we just say in the Americas as general. It surprises me that there wasn't one that developed in those areas or was in sort of the big vastness. If you think about how much space that is in the big vastness, if you think about how much space that is in the big jungles of South. Interesting. Well, I'm certainly not complaining that we're the ones that have got them. Now, our herd has drifted off slightly, so I'm going to try and just get back towards where they are and back into the front of them so we can watch them coming again. Now, Alice apparently says to me that I have to say that we are going to ponder what goes on with these elephants and that I must link to Scott in a South American accent. Now, what exactly is a South American accent, Alice? Because, well, there's many countries in South America, and don't say Mexican because I think Ali might shoot you if you do. Now, there's a big aardvark burrow that we've just gone. So I'm just going to link to Scott anyway and not use a South American accent because I'm not sure which one it is. But the next time we go to Scott, if Alice gives me a specific country, we shall try and use that one.
Well, thank you, Tristan. And these 5 cheetah have pancaked themselves onto Termite Mound. You could drive past them so easily. And it's actually boggling my little mind as to how easily you could drive past 5 cheetah. I heard you were discussing different types of elephant and zebra. I wish that I could have seen a woolly mammoth when they were still wandering around, or when we were still wandering around in just skins with clubs. Another elephant that would be nice, they don't exist, but hypothetically speaking would be a pygmy elephant. You get a pygmy hippo, which is very cool. So, I mean, imagine if there's a pygmy elephant. Wouldn't that be great? Quick update here. As you can see, the cheetahs are sleeping. The wildebeest have cleverly moved off a short distance, but they are still very much within the sights of this coalition. And judging from the behavior that I've seen in the past from these boys is that they're going to wait for darkness to begin to set in. Possibly, we should actually still be on safari because it's half an hour later this evening. So we could well be on safari when they do decide to make a attempted hunt on these wildebeest. The last kill they made with us was at 7:45, so 15 minutes after the safari finishes. Of course, if there is good action though, we'll keep you updated as to whether we're going to go on live on Facebook or whether we're going to extend the safari. But very good prospects. I'm very excited for VM, who's on camera with me, who is desperate. He said he's going to retire after he gets a good cheetah hunt. I don't think this one will qualify because it won't be in perfect sunlight. But VM is basically on the road to retirement. So for those of you who enjoy his camera work, best you make the most of it because he's going to be living, I think, remotely, semi-nomadically, out of his vehicle and his caravan trailer tent come home in the next few weeks. Okay. There's quite a strong wind blowing. That's going to assist in creating confusion and chaos when these guys start running in like a pack of wolves into these large herds of wildebeest. And they basically just run in and kind of chase them at fairly random intervals and not necessarily together as a team. But then one of them manages to single out a youngster or get on one, and then the rest of them come barreling in to help subdue it. Because even a young wildebeest is quite a handful or a pawful for a single cheetah. So that's why these guys have become so effective. Another thing that's interesting that I was thinking about earlier is that they may well never have hunted together in a scenario like this during the migration. Like I said a bit earlier, they only joined together, or they've only been noted in this area as of December. So they're not sure where they came from. There's speculation that one of the males has come from Tanzania. We're going to rush you across to James and I'll continue the story later.
Hello everybody, we've got a beautiful vulture here. I'm not sure why we rushed across here anyway. Here we are. We have a vulture. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere at all. Big lappet-faced vulture. And just very nicely framed there on the termite mound. Huge bird. With a wingspan of some 9 feet. Now, if we zoom out from there, and we look over the top, underneath that rainstorm, to about there, all the way to the end. You can just see the top of my hat there. And even beyond that. If you pan to the right there, Manu. Yeah, onto those hills there beyond. And just brighten the picture slightly. And what you can see are numberless herds of wildebeest. You can just sort of make them out there. Any discoloration that you see on that hill is numberless wildebeest, and that is where we are going. And that is where I'm hoping that we are going to get the Salt Lick Pride. I'm very sorry to have dragged you over from Scott at high speed. I think I gave the wrong impression about how urgent the sighting was. Anyway, we're going to carry on over the top here. Rebecca, do you want to go back to Scott? You can stay with us. No problem. Scott is now putting the ME20 low-light camera onto his vehicle, which will allow for him to take very beautiful night shots of the cheetah killing more wildebeest. This is really, when we get over the top of this hill, you're going to be sore amazed. Rebecca is so excited that she wants to be soy amazed. Wait, I will soy amaze you all shortly. Not by my own hand, but simply by facing the vehicle in the right direction. Goodness gracious me. Right, Manu, onto the far ridge there. There we go. Look at that. And Rebecca is already soy amazed, which is a great relief because I'd be very sad if she hadn't been. Isn't that nice? So we're going to get in amongst them and see if we can't find those other lions. If we don't find those lions, I will probably give up. Right, in the meantime, let's head across to Tristan, who apparently is in and amongst the elephants.
Well, we're still just trying to catch up with our Ellies. They're moving a lot quicker than they were just now. Just now it was all sedate and we weren't really going too far, and now they're kind of getting going a little bit. So I'm just trying to catch up with them and try and find a better way to position myself that we get to see them without having to move too much. I would rather be slightly ahead of them. Oh, Senzo, if you can try and just go straight ahead of me into this grass here, I'm going to duck out the way. Whether we're going to see them or not is anyone's guess, but there are button quails inside there. I thought that was one of them, but it's just grass moving. It's tiny, tiny little birds that are inside here. Where have you gone? No button quails, come out. Is that one sitting there? No, that's a leaf. Difficult to see, actually. Senzo's trying to scan in the grass there for me. There's too much wind. We can't see the movement of our button quails. Senzo, I'm going to try and move. Just watch that spot. Maybe we'll see them. But there was most definitely some button quails that were lurking in this little thicket. And they're so difficult to get on camera. No, our button quails have moved off. Oopsie. As are our elephants. Our big female is just guiding her young ones slowly away. There we go. And lots of flapping of ears this afternoon, given that it is so warm. It's very warm if you're a big grey beast with the sun hitting your back, so you have to flap your ears a little bit just to stay nice and cool. And you can see the young one, it stops every now and then, is feeding, and I wonder if it's going to move that branch, if it's learned that trait yet from its mom. As they get older, they will learn that they can move trees around to get to what they want underneath. No, not quite, not just yet. Trying though, and you can see that one's little tusks are starting to show, so that one is about 5 or 6 years old. Cat's Paws, you want to know if elephants ever come into camp? Well, yes, they most certainly do come to the fringes of camp. I haven't seen one yet come into the gate and towards FC. We have a little gate close to the final control and to the DRC, but they do certainly walk right past it and feed and munch away. Chantal has had some behind a house, I think, or Connor, I can't remember, one of the two of them. They had Ellie's somewhere behind. They used to live next door to each other, so I think there was Ellie's behind there at some point. I remember somebody telling me that one of those rooms, I can't remember. I'm getting old. Can't remember who's who and who's been in whose room, because it's changed so much since I've been here. All the Mara guys have left and new rooms, and so people have gone into different rooms, and well, it's just all quite complicated at this stage. But yes, they do come around. When I was at Chitwa and Lion Sands and Simambili, they were a permanent fixture at all of those camps. They used to come in all the time. And the reason why they come into camps so much is because camps water gardens for the plants around the lodge to make it look pretty. And when it's dry, and like it is now, then you know what that means? That means elephants want to eat nice, pretty plants, and therefore they come in and they destroy nice, pretty gardens. And soon you're left with an absolute mess. But if we go up just from the baby for 2 seconds, Senzo, if you look at that female, you can see that she is pregnant. Look at how wide she is. You can see the hips there, and then beyond the hips is a lot of swelling at this stage. So she is probably quite heavily pregnant, I would imagine. She's almost as round as she is tall at this stage. So that is a good sign. It's always nice to see pregnant females. It's very encouraging when the population is going up rather than down. Although the elephant population in the Kruger is not struggling at this stage at all, they are steadily increasing every single year. There's not very much that the elephants have to worry about here in South Africa. There is a bit of poaching that's starting to happen right in the northern part of the Kruger, but other than that, they don't really suffer from disease. There's not too many predators around that hunt them, particularly in this system. There's so many other prey species that can be hunted by lions and leopard and all these others, that elephants really don't form part of the menu that much, and so find that the elephant numbers are just exponentially increasing. We've also had a number of good years of rain, which has meant a lot more vegetation, and so the elephant numbers have done very, very well. That, coupled with artificial water points, means that the elephants find water easily, and there's no longer these long journeys to trek from water source to water source that might have killed off older or younger, weaker individuals, and so that's why their population is slowly on the increase. It's not to say that it's a bad thing. There's a lot of studies about it, and John, you're wondering if the dry grass they're eating has any nutrients in it. John, the grass that we see on above the surface of the soil, absolutely not. It's all just dry and there's very little in it. But what they are trying to get is the roots of that grass. So they pull the grass in chunks, and you'll find they eat the bottom half of the grass. So they're eating all the root system, and that's where grass stores its nutrients and its moisture to keep it alive, and that's what they're actually targeting, and there is nutrients in that. And then they'll supplement that with a lot of leaves and bark and roots at this time of the year. Right, Senzo, before our Ellies disappear, let's try and catch up once again, because they are moving off slightly. This area is a bit of a minefield, though. There's the odd aardvark burrow, there's the odd warthog burrow. You've got to be a little bit careful. There's a few sickle bush around, which is a tire hazard of note, so just trying to be careful of those as we're going along as well. Caitlin, who's 10 years old. Hello, Caitlin. You want to know how thick is an elephant's skin in centimeters? Now, in centimeters, it depends where we're looking, Caitlin, because on their body they have different thicknesses of skin. So around the ears, we know that the skin, particularly on the back side of the ear, is very, very thin. But on the other side, so down the body and that area, that skin is going to be very thick. So on the ear, only a few, probably not even a centimeter thick, it'll be millimeters, whereas on the body body itself, you're probably finding in places it's going to be close to 5 to 10 centimeters thick, so it's very thick on the body, and the trunk as well. The trunk has got very thick skin to try and keep that trunk in good condition. Remember, they're grabbing thorny trees with their trunk, so they have to have strong skin on their trunk as well. So it's also very thick there, and 5 centimeters is about what the thickness is of the trunk itself. Now, the reason why I actually know the thickness of the trunk more than anything else is because, unfortunately, we had an elephant bull that died in this area, actually at Chitwa, just on One-Eyed Pan, close to the dam there. And that poor elephant bull, because he died and they have to remove the tusks so that poachers don't come and steal them, the easiest way to remove the tusks when the carcass is still fresh is to actually cut the trunk away first and then get to the tusks like that. And we actually had to take the trunk off, and it was quite something to try and get through the skin, then through the muscle and through that area, and it was not a very pleasant experience, and something I hope that I'll never have to repeat again, but very interesting just to have a look at. And like I say, the animal died of natural causes, so it wasn't like there was a poaching incident or anything like that, and I suppose it was no longer with us, so cutting its trunk and looking and seeing all of those things up close was not actually a bad thing. It was a great learning experience, and it's how vets and various other things learn as well. But this has just been so magical this afternoon. They're so relaxed, this particular group. They've not in any way worried about us, and we've followed them through quite thick bush and crashed a few trees as we've gone with them, and as you can see, we haven't had a head shake. None of the mothers have been upset. They haven't in any way given us any trouble, so it's been rather pleasant. Now you can see the grass that's in there. Well, that's actually the ear hole, sorry, Senzo, but there's the grass, and you see it's the bottom sections that it's eating. Of course, now an elephant would walk right where the grass was. Naughty little elephant. And of course, it's not naughty, it's just doing what it's supposed to do, but in the purposes of what we were trying to see, it didn't really help very much. But you can see it's got its trunk down pat already, so this is an elephant that you can see the tusks would easily, like I say, be about 5-6 years old, and so that trunk is working absolutely fine. And you can see, just watch how it just strips the leaves off these small branches. There we go, strips them and shoves them in. Now, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was asking the other day of why we can't see the elephant's teeth. This might be the prime opportunity to see them. This little one, the way it's got its head cocked up, we might be able to see the teeth as it pulls food in, although it's turned its head slightly. If it faces us, we might be able to see some of the teeth. If you look at that right-hand corner of the mouth, there might be a visual of some of those big, broad, plate-like teeth on that right-hand area just as it opens, although we'll have to wait for it to take its head out of the bush if we're going to get lucky and actually see that. The only time I've seen elephant teeth regularly is on the bull elephants. So if you park near the bull elephants and they come and feed near you, and they often feed quite high up, and because of their height in comparison to the vehicle, you actually look up into their mouth and you can then often see the teeth that way. But otherwise, very, very difficult to see. I thought we might get a lucky break there and see this little one's teeth, but unfortunately it's now buried its head deeper into the thicket and is turning the wrong direction. Maybe now, let's see. Come on, open your mouth wide. Oh, there's too many branches in the way. No, almost there. Let's see if we can see them. Oh, come on, if it turns one more time like it did just now, we might be able to get to see those teeth. Of course, we are seeing its teeth anyway in the form of the modified incisors that are coming out between, well, on either side of the trunk in the form of the tusks. Those are modified teeth that we see, so they are not horns in any way. It's not bone. It's exactly what your teeth are made out of. And come some of the younger ones. You can also hear a bit of gas that's being passed, which is quite normal for an elephant herd. Charles in charge, you want to know how far an elephant's trumpet would travel. Now, Charles in charge, I wonder if you're saying in terms of our hearing or in terms of their hearing, because that's two very different things. Our hearing, you can probably hear elephants trumpeting depending on obviously wind and thickness of the bush, as well as the sort of terrain that you're in, if you're in dips and troughs and high areas. But I would say you could probably hear elephants trumpeting from 3-4 kilometers away if they're really trumpeting properly. In terms of Elephants themselves, I would imagine you could probably treble, even quadruple that distance that they would be able to start picking it up. So the thing is with them is that they actually have sensory cells that are in even the tip of their trunk and their feet that are able to pick up the vibrations caused by sound waves, and they can actually hear themselves from 15 kilometers, which is really quite something when you think about it. How long it's taken us to be able to communicate over 15 kilometers, that elephants can do it naturally is quite something. Right, they've moved off again into a little green belt thicket in front of me here, so I'm just going to try and catch up once more. It's amazing how when they do decide to move, they go quite quickly. Now, I'm not sure where this has come from and why we are doing this, but apparently I need to go to Scott and I need to do it in an accent. At first was a Bolivian accent, which who knows what that is. I even tried to Google it while I was out here quickly because I had a bit of cell phone reception and I can't find anything on a Bolivian accent. So now they want any accent whatsoever, but you can't put me on the spot with this. I need to have prep time to be able to say it. So I'll do it the next link. How about that? Senzo, do you have an accent that you want to do? Do? Anwar's accent. So we'll have to think about Anwar's accent and we'll try to do it a little bit later, but let's go across to Scott and see what he's up to and if he's still with those beautiful cheetah brothers.
Well, I'm glad you got some humor from Tristan Senzo. I cannot wait to look at that whole episode unfold. I'm trying out the new presenter cam. It's a new piece of equipment that I haven't got used to, so that's why I'm leaning very closely to it. It's only about 8 inches from my nose, and it's quite a nifty little toy. It was one of the improvements, I guess, to our equipment. If you look ahead, there are 5 cheetah, and you are now on the main camera. They are all lined up and poised like a military operation, like I say, waiting for the cover of darkness to wreak havoc and terror with the herd of wildebeest, which is just to the left-hand side of them. It's actually slowly grazing towards them. Look at those beautiful rays of sunshine bursting through the clouds. Another very, very splendid, moody afternoon here in the Maasai Mara. Now, in an ideal world, be a little bit too big for the cheetahs, so they'll be looking through this herd for any youngsters. Let's have a look and see if we can find any youngsters in here. Not that we want to seal their fate for them, but there doesn't seem to be too many small ones here. So we may have an epic showdown where these 5 boys try and bring down a big wildebeest. And I have been told that they do that fairly often. About maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, everything kind of blends into one big safari out here, to be honest. They took half an hour to bring down a fully grown wildebeest. So I kind of trying to liken that to lions hunting buffalo. It's a very similar match. Equally dangerous for these cheetah to hunt wildebeest as it is for lion to hunt buffalo. So it could be something a little bit nerve-wracking for all of us. But again, the predators do come unstuck from time to time. It's not just their prey who is unlucky. For now, though, all is calm and peaceful. Very strong wind still blowing. Let's hope it doesn't continue into the evening and then blow our blankets away. And I'm very, very happy to hear that it's not just me that's very excited for the prospects of this evening. If I were you, I would phone a friend, spread the love of Safari Live and let them know what they're about to miss out on. It'll certainly assist in us taking you to different safari destinations around the world. Something coastal would be quite nice to mix it up. Coastal safari. Palm trees, underwater, snorkeling, scuba diving. Hello, Audrey, who's just 12 years old. You would like to know what the chances are of a cheetah jumping onto the car while we are sleeping. And to be honest, Audrey, I don't think there's a good chance of a cheetah doing that while we are sleeping. However, during the day, they sometimes like to jump up onto the hoods of the vehicles to use it as a vantage point. Just like they climb up onto termite mounds, they will jump onto the hoods of the vehicles, sometimes even the roofs of the vehicles, and get a better view. Now, that is something that we as humans should not really promote, as cool as it is, and I would love to have it happen if no one was watching, but that's not how we should think, because by letting it get so close to us, it eventually may mean that it may hurt somebody, even if it scratches somebody by mistake, and then who knows what they will do to that cheetah. So there is a limit that we should rather kind of chase them off when they get a bit close, rather than letting them get too friendly. Having said that, though, VM and I were discussing today that there is a chance that possibly a lion or a hyena, it won't even need to jump into the vehicle. It could just walk up to the side of the vehicle and grab onto our toes and pull us off. But hopefully that's not going to happen, and we're generally keeping an eye out. But there is a small chance that could happen. To be honest, I'd rather that happen than something else in this world we live in. So, yes and no. It's not going to be a realistic problem. Thankfully, I think if you're sleeping under a bush all alone without any lights on the vehicle, without any other people snoring and kind of switching around on their mattress, then that would be a little bit different. But I think we are safe for now. Hello, James. You're interested to know at what age would a young male cheetah start struggling to join a coalition? I'm told anywhere kind of upwards of 2.5 years of age, it starts becoming tricky for them to be allowed into a boys' club. But again, I would be interested to know if any of you have found any research or documents that states otherwise. One thing that fascinates me about wildlife, and especially African wildlife, because I know more about the African wildlife than the other continents, is that you get the same species of animals occurring widely through sub-Saharan Africa, yet their behavior, depending on where they live, the exact same species can be very, very different. Let's take hyena, for example. The clans here are huge, and Djuma they're small, yet they're exactly the same animal, and their behavior in those clans changes. So it can kind of be likened to us as humans. Some countries, people get married young. Some countries and cultures, people have forced arranged marriages. I mean, just us as one species is a great example of how different we can act, behave, eat, sleep, drink, work, you name it. So cheetah are the same, leopard are the same, lion are the same. They've all kind of got their own traits, personalities, and trends depending on where they are. But yes, around 2 to 2.5 years of age, I'm really looking forward to trying to work out more about these guys. And it's really, I forgot to continue my story from earlier. Basically, not much is known about this coalition. They came into the area in December last year. Nobody's sure if any of them are brothers. There's, high likelihood that possibly 2 pairs of the 4 or 2 pairs out of the 5 are brothers. But some scat analyses that are going to be analyses. I don't know if that's correct, but we'll roll with it. They have done some scat samples, and they are waiting to be DNA tested. So we will know for certain in the coming weeks who is related to who out of this coalition. I'm also told one other little bit of information is that one of these guys was born with a sister, so his sibling was a sister, and his mother was a Tanzanian cheetah. So he has skipped the border and come north into Kenya. Other than that, I don't think any of these cheetahs' whereabouts, backgrounds, anything is known about them. So really looking forward to trying to work out what it is, or as much as we can about them. And it looks like for now it's going to be safe to send you off to another African predator with Mr. James Henry.
I thought Scott for a moment there was referring to me as an African predator. I was about to be complimented. No, I'm not. There we have, way in the distance, and the reason they're in the distance is because they're in the bottom of a signal-free valley, is the Salt Lick Pride. And 2 more of them are way off to the right-hand side. We've lost sight of them now, a mating pair. But the reason we've stopped in this area is because of the vast number of wildebeest. And if we tilt up, We can see the herd that we were in amongst earlier, and the herd that you saw earlier, that massive herd, is actually just behind us, and I'll take you driving through them right now. And I'm hoping desperately that this wind that's blowing does not mean rain. Because every single time I've come up into this area, I have got hit by storms, and in fact the last time, which was Sunday 2 weeks ago, Fergus and I got stuck for 2.5 hours. We were running from the storms. Everyone was very worried about us, you know. They thought maybe we'd been blown away. Except, of course, Mrs. Wallington, who's English, and said they can't die of rain. She was, of course, correct. So I think they're probably going to hunt, well, I hope they're going to hunt that herd a little bit later as it gets a bit darker. Their flatness indicates to me that they've probably eaten 74 wildebeest in the last 2 hours, and so I'm not convinced they're going to get up and do anything. Right, come with me now. What we're going to do is just take a little drive around through this vast swathe of life over here. Look at that. Is that not too gorgeous? Is that not too gorgeous? It's not them having a panic attack. Just let us drive. Click where they're probably. And now they're just great. So what we don't want is for them to have a panic. We just want them to see us as panic this many wildebeest. All you would need to do is get up and make a big noise or hoot and shout, and then there would be panic, and that would be horrible. And then there would be panic, and that would be horrible. Animals. Try and think of the biggest crowd you've ever been in amongst. I mean, I think probably rock concerts. Imagine the U2 concert. I think that's the biggest crowd I've ever been in amongst. And I suspect... Now, if your questions are not being answered, it's not because we're ignoring you. There is a few... No, James. There are a few. We will try and maintain a stream. I can actually see the camp now. So now, as we drive through here, what's interesting is that, and yes, Rebecca, I can see you waving at us. What you can see is that the wildebeest have very quietly made a circle around us. And that's what they do around the lions. They will know where those lions are, quite probably. Well, not anymore, not this group. But if you come around the big group of wildebeest and you see a dent in the side of it or an irregular shape, you can be almost certain that around that irregular shape there will be a lion. Or some other predator, perhaps for cheetah. I think this is very, very entertaining. I mean, I don't know about you, I've certainly never seen this number of animals in one place before. Sun about to set behind us, huge storm in the offing. Tremendous, tremendous stuff. Going to ease up to the top of the ridge here, and once we're up there we should be able to see down over the top into the rest of the herd, and from there we won't be able to go any further to the west because we will unfortunately lose signal. Now, as pretty as that is, it's not as pretty as the sight that I can see with my eyes, and that is because, as I've said to you before, oops, unfortunately, I hit a stump there. That's why they started to run. the camera is exposing for the brightest parts of the screen. And so when you look into the sun, the wildebeest become dark. But our eyes are so clever that we can expose for both at the same time. So those wildebeest to me look a lot brighter than they do to you. Gosh, it's very nice. I am a little worried about the weather, but the last 4 times I've said that we haven't been rained upon, so I'm just going to keep saying it, in the hopes that I'm warding it off. And the weather is starting to cool slightly. It's quite nice. We'll have to start putting jerseys on shortly. I believe Scott is doing that now. Of course, if you're a white-bearded gnu like these chaps, you don't have any jerseys. Yes, Rebecca, we can absolutely stop. I just want to get over the top of this hill, if you don't mind. Another 1 minute and then I will stop. Rebecca wants to hear them canoeing. I'll stop the other side of this termite mound. Alrighty, let's head back across the Djuma while we get to the top of the hill. Apparently they have got a sunset to show you.
Now we've just got the most beautiful scene of the sun slowly heading towards the Drakensberg Mountains, and below that is our herd of ellies that is slowly but surely making their way along below the sunset and moving just around us a little bit. There's 1 or 2 that have come towards the car, but there is one that is sitting almost directly underneath the sun at this stage, so we will show you that just now when we admire the sun for a few moments. Isn't that beautiful? Not many better ways to end the day than to watch that. And you can see quite a bit of dust on the horizon. You can't even see the mountains today. From here you should see the mountains quite clearly, and the sun itself, there's a big ring, and that's from the wind that we've had. It's kicked that dust up and caused that to be a little softer than it normally would be. There's the mountains just through all the dust that you can see in the distance. Riti, you say you love the Djuma sunset colours. Well, Riti, I agree, they are beautiful, although I have seen some incredible scenes from the Mara. Those sunset thunderstorms that they tend to get there is also absolutely wonderful. So the 2 of them both have equally beautiful sunsets, and there are elephants just making their way through the shot as well. Isn't that beautiful? Very nice, Enzo, well done. I quite like that. Ellies strewn under a African sunset. Now, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to be able to go from here, because we have a situation where we are firmly stuck between a whole bunch of trees and ellies in every direction. There we go. There's one female right here. You can see how large she is. That's the pregnant female that's just walking past us. Big girl that's dwarfing us at the moment. And then here comes... Actually, no, it's not the pregnant female. I lied. Actually, are they both pregnant? They both look as though they might be. Here comes the actual fully pregnant female, the one that's showing a lot more than the other one. You can see, look at how big she is in front of the car in comparison to some of the other ellies. This is so cool. Hey guys. Look at how she just waits for all the herd to go. She's also found herself a really nutritious tree. That's called a sickle bush that she's busy eating, and the sickle bush has lots of nutrients in it. You find down in the south of the Sabi Sands, there is lots of it. And that sickle bush is, like I said, targeted heavily by the elephants. You also find varying other species that eat it, like kudu and giraffe, but the ellies really love it. And that one is dead, I think. So she's trying to feed off a different plant, but it doesn't look as though it's actually got any live vegetation. She's kind of branching her trunk through all the dead stuff. It is such a beautiful scene. We've got elephant, we've got setting sun. It is magic. Joshua, you're wondering if elephants will avoid any species of tree. I'm just trying to think, Joshua, of species of trees that I've never seen an elephant eat. I must be honest, I've never seen them feeding off a sandpaper raisin. It's not to say that they don't, because we don't get that many sandpaper raisins in this area. Oh, look at those long eyelashes and that deep amber eye hidden behind them. You can see the pupils dilating quite a lot because that's the side away from the sun, which is getting quite dark now. But I've never seen them eat sandpaper raisins. I haven't seen them... I'm just trying to think what other trees out here. I've seen them feed off quarries. I've seen them feed off cluster leaf, bush willow, jackalberries. So all of those species of trees. There's actually not many that I can't think of. You might find there's the odd succulent that grows. Careful where you throw those sticks. We're in hazardous zone at the moment. There's twigs being thrown all over the place, and we hopefully won't get a sickle bush branch on us, because a sickle bush has got nasty spines. So I don't know if you can just see on the branch here, there's these hard spines that are on there, and those hard spines are lethal to one's hands and feet and anything else. I had a spine from a sickle bush go into my thumb one. Wow. How cool was that? That is so epic. Now I can assure you that that is the elephant and not my stomach or Senzo's stomach. We were fed well at lunch this afternoon, so that is the elephant making that sound. How amazing is that? So I was saying to you that the spine actually went into my thumb, and unfortunately I didn't notice that it was in there because it kind of made like a little blood scab over the top, and about 8 weeks later it was still really painful, and eventually I managed to pull out this about an inch long thorn from underneath my fingernail, and it was not very pretty at all. It got quite infected and it wasn't very nice. So sickle bush is not a friendly plant at all, and you can see some of those spines just on the branch there, and it amazes me that Ellies can deal with it, because that spine is very hard. The spine is a modified leaf, and so it, you would think, would be quite soft in comparison to the thorns, but it's actually much harder than what thorns are. No, girl, you're going to throw that on me. Behave yourself. Oh, look at that sunset now as well, Senzo. I know she's really close and it is beautiful to see her. You just watch that tree. Now, James, you want to know whether or not the baby elephants can feed off the cambium layer like the adults can? Well, as soon as they get tusks, then yes, they watch the adults and they start practicing it already, and so they can start to show signs of being able to do it, and it really does happen even in the young ones. They tend to wait a little bit, and they only really get the strength to be able to dig the tusk in and rip off a little bit later in life. So after they've gone through their formative years and they start reaching their teens is when we start to see it for the first time. But there you can see Mariepskop, and if you look very carefully, you can actually see the towers that our signal gets broadcasted from. There's little spikes on there. I think those are them. They're somewhere on that northern tip there, and those receive the signal from where we are and send it all the way to all of you. Michael? Okay. But you... Look at this. This is so cool. She's sitting right in front of us at the moment. She was just stopping just to see what we were and making sure we weren't an issue, and she's now going to move on. Or is she? Is she going to just sit here? No, she's moving on, so we'll just watch the last of the sunset going down. Now, I believe Ino has sent me a video of her doing her accent for all of us, so this is a real treat. And while our Ellies move away and the sun is setting, I'm just going to try and pull up our video and see if we can't watch Innocentia doing her thing. Hold on. So we want to pause it. We don't want it to start just yet. All right. Are we ready for this? We'll give it 2 more minutes as the sun just dips over the back end of the Drakensberg Mountains. It's amazing how quickly that sun does go down. And I would say in 10 seconds, we're going to have it down. There we go. Beautiful. And gone. Very cool. Right. Now, we're just going to quickly play our video of Innocentia. So there's Innocentia Say hello to Innocentia, everybody. Now, hopefully this is going to be loud enough. I'm going to have to turn its sound up. Let's see. So this is Innocentia's accent of like Anwar. Oh, why is it not playing? It doesn't seem to want to play now. There we go.
Hello, Tristan. Don't worry. When you come back from drive, I'm going to give you a free lesson on how to speak properly, like an Indian.
So that was very, very good. Well done. I'm very impressed. That's fantastic. It was just like Anwar was here. I'm very, very happy. Now, our sun is set, but it sounds like there is a sunset in the Maasai Mara. So I'm going to send you all to the Maasai Mara so you can go and hang out with Scotty and the sun that's setting.
I'm not sure if the accent that Rebecca gave was the same one that Tristan gave. It sounded like something like a sort of southern rip-off, if you like. Anyway, here we are with our sunset, and I think a very spectacular thing that we're watching here. Hundreds of thousands of wildebeest. Of course, I'm saying hundreds of thousands because it sounds impressive, but there may only be 20,000, are moving past us. And there's a storm dropping water out of the sky. There are these funny bulbous clouds above us whose names I have forgotten, and somebody can tell me if you like. #SafariLife. Just above there. They do have a name, actually. Forgotten what that is. Anyway, it is a very, very astounding thing to be in amongst. And everywhere you look, there is beauty. Off to the eastern side, away from the sun here, there's a lovely tree framed by some very beautiful clouds. There we are. Is that not nice? Nice. Did I really use that? My English today has been utterly appalling. Rebecca says, "Ya, nice brew." That's what you say in Johannesburg if you're ill-educated. Oh, brew, that's really nice. Hey? That's lovely. Beautiful. There's a lot of canoeing and some high-pitched and some low-pitched. The highest-pitched ones I can hear are going... The lowest one's really sort of bull-like. Ooh, Manu, the sun is about to drop down below the cloud line there. Sho! And Rebecca is going to be soy amazed once again. Now she's going in a very South African fashion. She's going, yo, 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 which means that's amazing. Stunning. Now I can hear a little bit of alarm calling. But I mean, if the lions get in amongst this bunch, there's going to be absolute chaos. Isn't that? Let's try and get a little closer in if you can, Manu. I know it's going to play with your exposure horribly. There we go. Just dropping below the cloud line. Gosh, that is amazing. Wow. All right, now we can pull back out again. You can show us the canoes. Now, before I answer Andy's question, I just need to tell Manu, of course, that it is illegal for me to be taking photographs on drive because it distracts me from my presenting. So when I am breaking the law, you're pleased not to put the camera on me. Is that okay? Thanks very much. That's great. Andy, sorry, I missed your question as I was caught there doing an illegal thing. What was it again? Oh, we'll answer it shortly. Apparently, I think the cheetah are on the move.
Well, the cheetah are certainly not on the move. The wildebeest are. Now, what is going to happen? You literally saw the front wildebeest start streaming past these cheetah, and there's a lot more to come. I'm guessing there's still about another 100 wildebeest that will come streaming past these cheetah, and most of the young wildebeest are at the back of the herd. And as soon as a youngster strays close enough to them, I think these guys might surge at them. Look at the way they've flattened themselves to the ground. The wildebeest, it's hard to believe, but they've got no idea whatsoever that these cheetah are here. And there's 5 of them, only about 30 meters away. Oof. Now, what is going to happen? It's not as dark as it usually is when these guys really start revving the herds. So that's possibly why they're still a little bit apprehensive. But at any moment they may see a youngster that they see fit for dinner, and they could surge forward. And when they do, the herd starts kind of running around. They don't flee completely. They almost run around in circles because they're not hugely intimidated by the cheetah. They just get an initial fright, and it's then that they start kind of churning through these wildebeest until they manage to find a youngster, bring it down. Some of you may have seen the footage of one of the cheetah getting bowled over by a mother wildebeest who came back to rescue its youngster. So wildebeest will stand up against these cheetah. Not always, but certainly from time to time. I cannot believe how incredible this is. What a beautiful, beautiful evening it is here in the Maasai Mara. I'm told you are enjoying a wonderful sunset with James. So while the action awaits us, we will show you the view from where we are perched at the moment. Isn't that spectacular? Beautiful. I'm glad James isn't getting wet. You can see lots of rain out in those clouds over there. So he's obviously a little bit further north, I'm guessing. Very, very good. So there's still about another 50 or 60 wildebeest, I'm guessing. Not easy to be certain how many. And I can't believe these cheetah haven't done anything yet. But that is the beauty of it. You may think you're getting to know these animals and may predict or have a guesstimate as to what they are going to do, but very often they prove us wrong. Very, very windy afternoon again. This will assist the cheetah. Did the one on the right there try to kind of swivel itself to the side? It didn't. It wasn't the most graceful move, but it did definitely swivel itself, pointing more towards the wildebeest. Maybe that one's going to surge first. Oh, there's a warthog. Best you get out of there, buddy. Although I think these guys really have become wildebeest hunting experts. And be ready, because at any moment now, one of them could surge forward. Most of the young wildebeest I was talking about are starting to stream forward now. Ooh. If this one here in the middle of the screen now strays too far away from any of the big ones, I think they may have a go at it. Watch that cheetah on the right. It seems to be getting the most prone and ready. I wonder what's going through their heads. Wouldn't that be nice to know? There's no ways they can be communicating with one another now, I wouldn't think. But individually, all of them are displaying incredible patience. And this is a skill that even the fastest mammal on the planet, or fastest land animal on the planet, needs to be able to succeed in bringing down some prey. Ooh, that's a small one there. Phew, you are lucky for now, it appears. Oh, have they got a fright? This may trigger a chase. For a lot of predators, if their prey don't run from them. Oh, here they go, here they go. Can you believe it? Just out of nowhere. You stay on that front one, VM. I'll keep an eye on the others. Yeah, it's going to get it. Oh, can you believe this? What a takedown! It looks like the other one might be going for another. Have they got two, or is it just the one? No, they've just got the one. The others are coming back to help. Well done, VM. I'm going to get us in there a little bit closer. Hold tight, everyone. I was supposed to do that quicker. I've gotten off to a slow start here. I was so busy looking for others. There's a lot of vehicles also getting in. I don't want to put too much pressure on them, but it looks like everyone's stopping at a healthy distance, so that's the good news. Let's see if I can get the sunset behind. That's going to be a bit of an ask, so we'll skip that. This is a big wildebeest. They've still got their work cut out. That was such an incredible tackle, and can you believe how just out of nowhere they surged forward? Oh, this may be hard for some of you, but it is nature. There's nothing we can do about this. They are trying to kill this wildebeest as quickly as they can, but I fear it may take some time. This is the biggest wildebeest I have seen them attack so far. Whew. Now, what we must all be aware of is that this wildebeest's bleats that it's letting out now, as saddening as it is to hear, it is also going to lure in any hyena or lion that may be in this area. So I'm scanning around, just making sure that no hyena come barreling in, or even worse than that, any lion. We've seen this coalition of 5 male cheetah lose a kill to just one single hyena that already fed on most of it, but that is something we need to be aware of. Can you believe how quickly and precisely that all unfolded? It was certainly the cheetah on the far right who was showing the most interest in making this kill that surged out of the blocks. And what an incredible takedown that was. Incredible camera work to VM. These things all happen so quickly, and it's something that none of us are practiced in. Hence me taking 2 minutes to drop the clutch and get us here. But well done to VM. Incredible camera work. And well done to this coalition of the wildebeest killing machines. And for those of you on a lighter note who are worried that wildebeest is now going to retire, VM, the cameraman, wildebeest, aka wildebeest, he is not. I was just joking around. It's just a joke that he said he would retire after he gets a good cheetah takedown, and I think that was certainly worthy of his joke. This is interesting because this squabbling behavior around the kill is something that is new to us. We haven't spent a long time with this coalition of cheetah, but only in the last week or so. Look at these two having a go at one another. Wildebeest isn't dead yet, so they should try and focus on doing that. I don't think it is dead. Though it must be close. It looks like Dartonian, the male with the collar, is going to show them how it's done. Yeah. Now, this behavior, we don't know who's who yet, and it's difficult in a chaotic sighting like this for me to even have a guess, but obviously the male with the collar is easy to distinguish. He is one of the biggest of these 5. And there is another big one. So there's 2 that are distinctly bigger than the others. And it looks like he's been showing that slightly smaller one who is boss. You can see that one's trying to beg its way in. You see, I think this is another of the more mature males that's gone in on the chokehold now. They're obviously not convinced that it's dead yet, nor am I. What was that, VM? Okay. So VM just had to, what is called the drop-in ND filter, so basically just assisting with the lessening light as the sun has just set. Well, everyone, what can I say? To be able to witness a live cheetah hunt from the Maasai Mara again is just the most phenomenal thing, and I'm so grateful to be sharing this with you. We are so lucky to be seeing these 5 cheetah do their business, and it looks like the long hours spent out here has already paid off. I'm still continually scanning to make sure no hyena come onto the fray. It could happen at any point in time. Hello to Mia. You'd like to know if there are any lion or hyena around in the general area and that I know of. And no, not that I know of. But one thing I can tell you is that there's no shortage of both of those animals in the Maasai Mara ecosystem, especially hyena. So there's a strong possibility one will come onto the fray. The wind could be helping these cheetah in terms of it muffling the sounds of this wildebeest bellowing or bleating, and it will also be muffling the sounds of their argument, which attract some attention. And they're so busy fighting over one another, they're not forgetting to kill this wildebeest. Behavior. Jeez, I wouldn't like to be those two with their tails towards us and their heads away from us. They could catch a stray hoof at any point in time. Oh, here comes the first hyena on the left, BM. Already the first hyena's here. And on cue, what is it going to do? Is it going to charge in and try and chase them all off alone? It's just doing the maths first. It is coming closer now. It's cleverly probably going to come behind the vehicles using a bit of our cover to sneak up on them. And it may well try and call in reinforcements and other hyena like... Oh, here it comes on the VM, on the left. Now, they haven't had a mouthful of this. Look at this. Very characteristic maneuver that the cheetah use. They lift their front legs up high and slam them down onto the ground to make themselves look more fierce and impressive. Now, is this hyena going to be greedy? Look more fierce and impressive. Now, is this hyena going to be greedy, keep quiet, and to the rest of the clan for reinforcements? It's an interesting scenario that plays out, that a hyena has options to be selfish or to be greedy. If he calls in the rest of the clan, it knows it's going to have its work cut out for it. Lots of competition. This cheetah also knows it needs to start eating as quickly as possible. I wonder how that hyena got the message. Was it the sound? Must have been. The wind is blowing in that direction, so it could have blown those moans and groans of the wildebeest towards wherever that hyena was resting for the afternoon or the day. And I'm not convinced that these cheetah are going to get much of this meal. I think there's going to be more hyena coming in. And who knows, that may mean another hunt this evening. Once darkness has fallen. Very, very interesting prospects, that is for certain. Whew. Well, I think all of us need to take a deep breath and compose ourselves after that manic action. It's been such a calm and pleasantly slow afternoon safari, I would like to say, at least from my point of view, as you've had the joy of jumping on board with Tristan and James.
but things have just taken a rapid spike in excitement and adrenaline and emotion. Whew. The hyena still just sitting off on the side there patiently, and it appears like it is taking the selfish route as opposed to calling in the rest of the clan to chase off these hyena. Cape Turtle Dove, you would like to know what hide is the toughest to break through. I'm guessing most of your general kind of antelope have got similar thickness hides. You know, wildebeest and topi will be on a par, and zebra, maybe buffalo slightly thicker. And then, you know, rhino, hippo, and elephant will have the thickest of the skins to try and get through. It does appear like they are having a tough time getting through this. I think age also makes a difference. I think the older the wildebeest, the tougher the skin becomes, whereas the younger wildebeest might be a little bit softer and more supple to open. It appears that is the case. These guys are having trouble getting in here. There's great news. Tristan has been tirelessly tracking while we've been enjoying the sighting of these cheetahs. So why don't you go and have a look what he's found you.
From the dam having down in Mulawati. Now, we've just managed to find a spotted surprise for all of you. So I'm going to try and see. Hopefully she's not going to drop down into the Mulawati, but it looks like Thandi. I haven't seen very nicely, but I'm going to try and just see. There she goes. You can see her just going in front of me, so it does look like her. So she's just disappearing into the darkness now. Sorry about the little bit of a breakup in picture. I'm going to quickly just shoot round to the other side of the Mulawati, because I'm going to be able to keep up with her. So I just want to quickly get round. So just hold on. Little Ferrari Safari for 2 seconds. So she's just on the western side, well at Twin Dam she's on the eastern side. Now Tumba is in Torchwood and he's moving west, so I wonder if we're not going to get a situation where we're going to get both of them meeting up together again. So we're just going to try and see if we can't get round. It is a long way again than we had earlier. Guys, a little bit bumpy. Sorry, scrub hair. Alright, and down we go into the Mulawati. Okay, now Thandi, be nice to us. Don't cross in a horrible place and don't go too quickly. Alright, now I do need to find an hour later today, so we're not going to have a little last minute leopard. We're going to hopefully
well, sorry about that shaky signal down in Djuma, but at least you've got some good action here, and well done to Tristan for getting you at least a glimpse of that leopard. It seems like they're slowly making their way through the thick hide of this wildebeest, but they certainly are finding it harder than any of the other young wildebeest that I've seen them snack on. The hyena is still waiting patiently on the outskirts, and all you've missed is a few little squabbles between this coalition. And I'm hoping that all this squabbling we're seeing isn't the beginning of the end of this coalition. It's not uncommon for coalitions to join up for periods of time, and then obviously as relationships either, I guess, dwindle, they can then split up and go off on their own in smaller groups. So that may happen, and again, further reason for us to really be gracious that we get to see this many cheetah together. It's not the norm, and to see such efficient killing again is not normal either. Now you'll hear possibly quite a few vehicles starting up. People are heading back towards their respective camps, yet we do not have to. We are here the whole night, so fear not, we are not going anywhere. And again, very, very fortunate that we've got special privileges to be out after dark. Hello again, Roshni. Good to have you on safari again. You would like to know how long after this chase would they need to cool off? Well, it doesn't look like they need to cool off at all. They've gone straight from the chase. It was a short chase. As far as cheetah go, they can have to chase things for far longer than it did in this situation. I would say that was probably only about 100 meters or so that it had to run. It's a very cool evening, and as you can see, all of them have taken no time to get their breath or cool off. And I'm actually told it's more of a kind of old wives' tale that cheetah need to cool off. I mean, of course, they need to catch their breath, but they don't run the risk of overheating, which I think is quite a widely, at least that's a recent document that I read. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's not the case. Their body temperature doesn't really rocket to the point that they're going to self-combust. They'll obviously be out of breath and possibly a little bit tired, but they don't need to cool down as much as a lot of us believed was the case. Okay, well, it's turning out to be a big cat evening, from a glimpse of a leopard on Juma to these 5 cheetah, and now across to James with some lion.
Yes, some lions indeed, and astoundingly with some signal, and not far from the wildebeest herd. Now, this is a mating pair from the Salt Lick Pride, and we know they're mating because we have, we've seen them mating, basically. And I think that she looks relatively hungry, and she's just perked up, and the rest of the pride is the other side of this sort of marshy spot, and I don't think there'll be any signal near them. So I think what we're going to do is wait and see if she doesn't go hunting. Often with a mating pair, the female will go hunting. You know, it's exhausting work mating as a lion. Many, many times a day it must be done. You can see the male completely exhausted. And she looks a little bit like she could eat something before the new mating commences. So I think we'll sit with these two and wait and see what happens. There are 2 large groupings of wildebeest around here. One to the left of your screen, and the one we were with, is just sort of behind us. And so rather like Scott was waiting with the cheetahs during the day, we are going to wait with these lions for a while at the night and see what happens. We'll give them a little while before we try the rest of the pride, but having seen where they are, I think that they are just not going to be able to give us any workable signal. She's looking up towards them. I wonder, just listening carefully to see if there aren't some alarm calls. They're a long way from here, probably about 300 meters or so, about 1,000 feet. And she might be listening to see if there isn't signs or sounds of a kill, because she'll quite happily scavenge from the family. You can see night just starting to fall. What an astounding day you've had there with those cheetahs. Isn't that amazing? Once they decide that they're going to hunt a herd of wildebeest, it's almost certain that they will kill. Hello, love. Hello, darling. What's for dinner? Oh, I got nothing yet. Oh, Rita, you say, when there's a mating pair, do the other lions move off in order to give the lovers some space? Rita, I don't think it's anything quite like that, no. I think what happens is that these two become so preoccupied with each other that the others just kind of get on with the rest of their lives. And he will sometimes try and separate her from the rest of the pride. You know, he'll kind of block her way. And then I suppose by default they do become separated. Often not very far away from the rest of the pride. And she's looking straight towards them now. And in fact, she's looking at a jackal. There's a jackal off to the left there. Can you see it there, Manu? I'm not sure if the... Can you see it? No, much further left, in the clearing behind us. There in there somewhere. There is a little pair of jackals, and that's what she's looking at. There you go. Well spotted. And there is actually a carcass there, an old carcass that is smelling very high indeed. And that's what the jackal's eating. The lion is licking her chops, but I don't think the chances of her catching jackal for dinner are, well, highly unlikely. Here we are. See, licking her chops. I definitely think she's quite peckish. She's watching the little jackals now. The jackals are very fast, so they would be able to escape from her almost always. Although lions do take their toll. We know, of course, that horrendous scene we saw with Brent at Djuma, when the lions got hold of a wild dog pup. Dreadful, dreadful stuff. So they do take their toll on the canids out here. Right, now either this is a prelude to more mating, or perhaps it'll be a prelude to hunting. We're just putting on the infrared now. It's getting a bit dark, so things are going to go from vibrant technicolor to black and white. I'm not sure why she's licking her lips quite so enthusiastically. She looks like she might be sick, actually. Well, that'll make her definitely peckish after that. Now, that is the thinnest belly I have seen on a lion during this migration season. And I think this lion is about to have a vom. That's disgusting. Oh, goodness, here it comes. He's not put off in the slightest. I certainly am. Right, now what's going to happen here? Oh no, the IR light's on.
Yep.
Yes, they are. Is the IR filter on?
Yes.
Is it on full auto?
Yep.
Yeah. It is quite dark though, I must say. Anyway, let's reverse back a little bit. They're going to mate. Here we go. Here we go. I must tell you, the smell around here is not that of a kind of... There's no romantic smell around here. It smells like rotting meat and lion dung, which is quite the worst smell in the world. Yeah, I think she's hungry now. I'm not sure this mating malarkey is holding her fascination really at the moment. I don't know if you can hear that low, throaty growl. No, go away, she says. I have a headache. Anu, now that is black. We can see nothing. What's happened there? Anu? They're mating. There we go. Romance in the dusk. And often, you know, they mark their territory like that as the mating happens. The males do, just to sort of assert themselves. It almost looks like they feel slightly inadequate afterwards from the aggressive response they receive. So they mark their territory to show how big and tough they are. Marvellous. Well, I'm glad we got to see that. Now what I think I might try and do is sneak around to the others just to see if we've got signal. I'm 90% sure we won't. And so while I do that, let's head across to Scott and find out how his cheetah's, migration banquet is going.
Well, the banquet has officially begun. They have managed to work their way through the blazer of this poor GNU. VM. Oh, I think. What am I hearing? Is it them? Is it a hyena? Or is it? Could be the cheetah chattering to one another. I just heard a strange noise. Apologies. VM quite hysterically said that these cheetah feed like silkworms. And to be honest, I think it's a great analogy. Compared to a lot of the other carnivores out here, how they eat, the cheetah are very petite. They don't ever get too dirty or bloody, and much like a silkworm nibbling on a leaf of a mulberry tree. Kind of. I thought it was great. Now, how much of this will they get to feed on? That, for me, is the begging question. Also, what's boggling my mind is that this hyena is clearly not much of a team player. If you just let out a few howling whoops or their hysterical laugh, that would certainly get other hyena in the area on board, and then they would be able to override these cheetah very easily. Like I said, one single hyena has managed to drive these cheetah off a kill before. In all fairness, it wasn't as fresh as this. They had already been feeding on it for about half an hour. Most of it was finished. And I guess maybe by then they worked out that it's not worth the risk of trying to keep the hyena at bay. This guy, I guess there's two sides to the story, because it knows that if it does get all of this to itself, there'll be lots of bits that the cheetah cannot feed on. So it's probably actually more than enough. All it needs to be is patience, and it'll get a lot of food here that, like I say, the cheetah's little silkworm jaws will not be able to cope with. Something that I'd also love to know about these cheetah, and it will be possible to work it out with a little bit of time and effort, is which cheetah makes the most kills. We've seen definitely the collared male. He showed us a lot of he was the kind of leader of the hunts when we initially started spending time with him. But now it looks like, you see, he's drinking the blood there, which is also quite interesting. I think they really enjoy drinking blood where they can. When they break open a vein or an artery, they just sit and lap up all the blood that comes shooting out. We noticed one doing that on a Thompson's gazelle, one of the two sisters, when they caught a Thompson's gazelle a couple of nights ago. Again, that was a kill made after dark. Oh, here they go, growling and squabbling. I'm just going to keep quiet for a second. It could intensify. Now, what will definitely be happening as the minutes unfold is that the smell of this carcass is going to be carried very far, very quickly. With this howling wind, any hyena to the west of us is going to know that there's a fresh wildebeest up for grabs. So, again, I wonder how long it may take for a whole clan come rushing in. It'll be very interesting to see 2 or 3 more hyena come into the fray, to see what these cheetah do, whether they stand together as a team or if they just rely on one individual to do all the dirty work. Hello, Gene. You'd like to know if the cheetah would prey on the hyena? No, it's highly, highly unlikely, and I'm fairly certain the only hyena that would have been killed by a cheetah will be small cubs or very young, kind of 6-month-old hyena. A fully grown hyena, I don't think, is a match for a cheetah, not even 5 of them, to be honest. Although it would be an interesting match. I've never heard of any documented records of cheetah killing hyena. Certainly it can happen the other way around, and it definitely happens with lion and leopard. Lion and leopard can quite easily kill cheetah as a general rule. Obviously it depends on the circumstances. But no, I don't think cheetah have it in them to be able to attack and kill a hyena. Certainly stand up to them where they can, try and chase them off, but I don't think they have the strength to be able to dispatch one. Hello to David. You would like to know if eating the stomach acids of this wildebeest is dangerous for the cheetah. I guess there's two answers to that question. One is that no, it's not dangerous, and they can eat it. The second option would be that it is dangerous and they know not to eat it. Basically, I don't think so, because they would know if it was and they wouldn't eat it. So I don't think it's something they have to worry about. Another thing is that they generally don't feed on the stomach content, and the stomach acid would only be within the bag of rumen full of grass, which is of no desire. Well, the cheetah will have no desire to eat that. So that will be removed at some point in stage. It's just the wind. When you may have seen that big bag there, it's just behind the cheetah that's lying down on the left, and that would be filled with most of the stomach juices and acid. So they don't feed on that. Other animals may break it open and eat that stomach lining, but leave the rumen, the content, the cud that the wildebeest would have been chewing on. But I've never heard of any animals having problems from feeding on this. I guess their digestive systems, along with everything else, is probably far tougher than ours as humans. Well, these cheetah have been very, very fortunate in that more hyena have not come into the fray. Are we on infrared now, VM? Not quite. Okay. Hello, Kurapool. You would like to know what drinking it does for the predators. It makes their life easy. Blood is a... Ooh, what have they seen? Any changes? Yes, here they come. Oh no, it's a family of warthog. I thought it was 3 hyena coming barreling in. The cheetah are lucky, and I guess the hyena is to a degree as well. It still has this all to itself, or the leftovers. So the benefits are it's it's very, very high in protein, and it doesn't need to be chewed. So it's a great source of minerals, nutrients, protein, basically in the form of a smoothie. I guess if you could equate it to something that us humans are enjoying at the moment. Smoothies are kind of quite the rage. You see, that is really interesting. They obviously saw those 3 warthog and just went bolting off rather than taking a chance. Oh, do you see that lightning in the background? It's all happening here. Keep scanning around, please, Vildi. I just want to make sure it was just the warthogs. Nothing else to be seen. No lions. Their senses are far better than ours. Huh. Check where the cheetah are, sorry, Vildi. Surely they haven't gapped it. No. This is bizarre. Crazy. They are looking back now. Come on, guys. That was the biggest false alarm ever. There's 3 warthogs that are approaching. And the hyena also even ran away from the warthogs. Maybe these are the not very well known about killer warthogs of Kenya. Carnivorous warthogs. because it sent one hyena packing and 5 male cheetah off into the distance. Well, I'm torn as to what to do. I guess we might have to stay with the cheetah, because that was our plan initially. And no, guys, I'm just going to reverse a bit just to really open up the scene for them, just so that there's nothing here. Really, really strange. I was kind of, considering where they ran off to, I guess the vehicle would have been a bit of a barrier that they wouldn't have been certain of anything hiding behind. So let's just stop here. Have another look at the cheetah, please, VM. Yeah, I'll scrap that in case the cheetah do come, because or go, and then we're done for the evening. I just want to see if they're thinking of coming back now that I've opened up their view. Well, I guess the wind, the darkness. VM's using a very, very fancy camera with a ridiculous lens on it, so it's making it look like it's 5:30 on a cloudy afternoon, but the sun sets just about an hour ago, or at least half an hour ago, and it's far, far darker in real life. Okay, let's have one squiz. It seems like they are not going to be hanging around, which means we need to stick with them, but I just want to see if the hyena has cashed in yet. They did quite well. I mean, they've got a decent chunk of that wildebeest into their bellies. Okay, well, how bizarre. Very interesting, and again, what an absolute privilege and a pleasure to share that all with you. The joys of the unknown safari, live safari action, just I can't get enough of, and I'm loving having you guys alongside. Woo-wee! Okay, have you got them there, VM? Well done. Where are we? 2-ish, 3-ish. Okay. So, what I'm doing is I drive with my headlights on, obviously so I can see the road, and then what my goal is to get the cheetah parallel to us so that I'm not shining the lights on them as we move. Therefore, they are snooping about, essentially just with the vehicle tagging along adjacent to them. It seems like they've calmed down, as would I, after having had a big wildebeest snack that they absolutely wolfed down. And again, I'm just going to park on the side of them. That allows them to still look back in the direction of that kill. They may decide to go back there once the initial fright wears off. Or who knows, maybe they're going to head off and claim another canoe to fill the gaps that they hadn't quite got to yet. Yes, as Bex cleverly puts it, they were just having a light starter and the evening is only just beginning. Okay, I think we will not be in their view here. Hello, Cape Turtle Dove. You would like to know if the Mara cheetah are any bigger than cheetah elsewhere in Africa, and I'm not sure. I don't have the faintest idea. Your reason for asking is because there's more prey around. Yes, there is, but not always. The migration is not always here. It's here for 2 or 3 months of the year, when your average pride or coalition or predator will be able to cash in on it. The other 9 months of the year can be quite bleak in the Mara, relatively speaking. And because some areas have such good rain and such long grass, the lions, cheetahs, leopards in those habitats or in those areas don't have nearly as much food. It's too swampy. A lot of the food moves outside of the reserve and the triangle into the surrounding conservancies, I'm told. So it's not always a time of plenty. And I've heard that some of the prides of lion can get quite thin outside of the migration. So, yes, for 3 months of the year, it's the place to be if you're a carnivore. However, there are also some tricky months. Now, we've got a very cool toy called a FLIR, which is a heat-sensitive camera, i.e. thermal imaging camera. And there we go. Isn't it quite fascinating? I love the way their tails kind of disappeared, because obviously there's not too much heat traveling down to the tip of that. And a very, very useful toy to assist us in being able to keep an eye on these animals and the lions and who knows everything else that moves around after dark without impacting on what they get up to. So we've got 2 cameras mounted on top of one another through some ingenious Safari Live tech work that's basically been built for the job, and the thermal camera sits on top of the low light infrared camera. So wherever VM is pointing one camera, he's pointing the other. What would help is if we could grow 2 more arms and hands for him, so that 2 hands could control the focus and the zoom of the bottom camera, and the other 2 hands could focus the thermal. So he's doing some great multitasking. Look where it's just rolled over. There's still a heat. Oh no, sorry, you've gone back onto the other camera. Whoops. But when they do roll over, you can see where they've been lying on the ground. I'm very, very impressed by the technology, and it's only going to get better, and the technology that's becoming available to us is really going to open up the doors to show you guys and learn with you guys some fascinating stuff that people don't actually know about. Up until now, people haven't been able to spend time with animals like these without interfering in their business after dark. If you're shining a big spotlight around, of course you're creating a huge amount of attention to the predator. You're either blinding the prey. So as a general rule, the less lights after dark, the better. Well done, guys. You had a very successful evening hunting. I commend whichever one of you did that incredible tackle and persisted in taking down that wildebeest after initially missing it. I thought it was going to give up. John, you would like to know if this coalition will break up after the migration passes through. It could well, but I think it will be through default. Well, I guess it could be spearheaded by the fact that there's less food, therefore more quarreling at mealtime. So I guess it could be a contributing factor to them breaking up, but there's no ways of being certain. All I know is that we don't know when they joined together, but they came into the area. They started being noticed by the researchers only in December, so very, very recently. Dartonian, the individual with the collar, I think was only collared in January or February. Oh, sorry, I was putting my hand over my lapel, my little microphone there, so you couldn't hear me. So yes, Dartonian, this individual was collared in February. So I mean, it's all very, very new. This coalition to the area, to the researchers, and we're not entirely certain what the future holds for them. What I do know is that as long as they stay together, we are going to get spoilt with some crazy, crazy action. I wonder if we shouldn't rush back to that carcass and see what's happening there. Because we should be able to keep an eye on them. I'll just answer Take Care's question and then I'll make up my mind, unless any of you would like to let me know what you would like to do. Should we stay or should we go? I'm confident we're not going to lose the cheetah in their current state. So now we're back onto the FLIR, the thermal imaging camera, and you'd like to know why the ears are showing up hotter than the rest of the body. And I guess it's the inside of the ears, it's not the outside of the ears. So you see the outside of the ear, which we're looking at now, is warm. It's probably because it doesn't have too much fur, but it's the inside of the ear. The white is the hottest color. Oh, it looks like they're going back. Oh, there's the little hot patch on the ground I was talking about that gets me so excited. Cool. Well, it looks like the cheetah are going to escort us back towards the kill. Let's go and see what happens. I'm just going to follow from a generous distance behind them. The reason being is that the vehicle noise is going to have an impact on how they're feeling, on any noises, warnings. So it's very important that I just keep back a little bit so as to not muffle any important sounds that they may be listening to. Okay, where they been? Cool, thank you. So they are heading back in that direction. Very, very interesting. You would think they would have just not run so far away initially. Are they actually even going to go back and have a look? It appears like they could well be. I'll just stop again. I just want to let them have a chance to listen and make sure they know what they're doing. So scan as well with the thermal. Oh, sorry guys, I'm told that every now and then the picture drops. That's just to keep you guys on the edge of your seats. Only kidding. We're in a very low-lying area, and obviously the signal is not great here, but the action is, so it's a small price to pay. There we go. VM has found the carcass, and the hyena seems to be tucking in. Let's try and use the thermal. Ah, that's working marvelously. The thermal camera, the FLIR. Now we are far, far away. I'm guessing like 500 meters, 400 meters. So it gives you an idea of how effective this machine is. Well, you enjoy your snack there, hyena. The cheetah are all looking on, kind of wondering what to do next. Wonderful. Well, how interesting, and how lucky are we to see this action. And just interesting behavior. The fact that, you know, they can obviously see that far because they're confident in that they're looking at something. Whether they can work out what exactly it is, I'm not entirely certain. But what I can assure you is that that hyena is having a great, great time. Stumbled upon an easy meal, of which there are lots in the Mara at the moment. And it seems like everything is coming to a, not a grinding halt, but a slowing down to a leisurely pace just at the right time, because it is about time to say goodbye. I'll get there eventually. It's about to say goodbye to all of you, and thank you for joining in on what's been an epic safari. Well done to Tristan on all his contributions, as well as James, and thank you very much to Bex in the final control. Well done on another epic safari. We will see you all in the morning. No worries, Bex. Well played. Thank you. Very good, very good. Now the catch is, what the hell do we do? How much longer do we invest with these things? We're here now. We've got Stu. We'll spend the night. And cool.